Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
He does. Right center field and deep. Back goes Sawinski. That ball is off the wall. One run is in. Corner racing around third. He's going to score. Two-run double. Seiya Suzuki. Listen to this crowd.
Berger hits a blast to left. Way back there. It is off the pole. It's a home run. We are tied. Got every bit of the baseball from Almonte. He left it up and out over the plate.
1-2. Hit high in the air, left center field, and deep. Angling back, Marisnik still going at the wall. It is gone! Two-run home run to left center for Ronald Acuna.
A look to second. He throws. Yastrzemski swings and belts it high and deep. Right field. It's got a chance. It is gone! Mike Yastrzemski with the Giants down to their final strike has just tied the game in the ninth inning with a two-run home run.
Swinging a high drive, hit deep right field. Bowers back to the track at the wall. It is off the wall. Escobar racing around third, taking the turn. The cutoff throw from right center field is not in time. Escobar slides in safely. Nimmo at third base with a game-winning RBI triple. He is mobbed. It is the Mets over the Yankees in extra innings. 4-3.
Good morning.
Did the Yankees win? I was waiting for him to say but it wasn't.
The Yankees win.
It wasn't Sterling.
The Yankees win. Well,
But
he was getting hit in the face with foul balls.
Hey, now real talk though. A couple days ago,
4-3.
Listen. Hey, he took one.
He took it to the grill.
He absolutely took one. That was on all the networks. Because what is he, 84, 85? Yeah. Oh, that would have hurt me. And I get hit in the face.
It would have hurt anyone.
Did you see how he played it off, though?
He's like,
ow.
Well, at first, it looked like he wanted to cry. And then he's like, wait a second. I'm calling a baseball game right now. It actually hit me in the face.
Dude, they put it in slow-mo on.
Are we going to start?
I think I was watching Speak for Your. It was whatever Shannon's last day was, which I don't know how I would act. They had me all sorts of confused. I'm like, gosh, does he really like this guy or does he not really like this guy? I think he's probably reflecting on the 7 years. I've been there. You leave a couple friends and it's like, man, I like you, but I don't know. It was kind of weird. But with Sterling, when they played the audio, all he said, he's like, ow. But the crazy thing about it is how he got hit. Like the ball had to be coming at a fairly decent rate of speed. And he's just casual. Foul.
Remind me, did it skip or did it hit in the air?
It looked like it hit because all I could see is him in the booth.
Right.
And then the ball hits him in the forehead. So, but the way that he's saying it, it's fouled straight back. So it probably didn't hit anything.
Well, he's like, and it's toward me.
Yeah.
Like you heard him say, like, it's fouled straight back toward me.
Yeah. And he's just like chilling. Like, is it not coming at a good rate of speed?
I have to go back and check if
But the best thing about the whole deal was all he said was, ow. And he's like bandaged up. I don't know. It was almost as sweet as you see the home run that was.
Oh, it skipped. It did skip.
It was what game was that? Gosh, it might have been when you guys were blowing in extra innings. Did you see the guy in the outfield?
We didn't have a lot of that. Actually, we did have Tommy Edman hit a grand slam.
You're right. He was tracking the ball, and the dude in the outfield just had his glove and it went right to him. Like he snagged it like he was Kirby Puckett or somebody.
Yeah.
Like he didn't give a what. The dude in the fan, I was like, hey, he probably played baseball. Just the way he caught it was kind of reminded you of picking that play at short where you barely looked at
Tuesday.
it. You're like, ooh, this is sweet in my head. I was just like,
but you act like you do it every single day.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, I turn around and I'm like,
he kind of snapped it off. I was like, this guy, he must play a little bit. He's an older guy too. He still had it. Get up, baby.
Let me. I'm gonna read you word for word what John. This is just funny what John Sterling said. Okay, now the 3-2 swung on, pop, foul, back here. And the ball skips up and hits him, and he goes, "Ow!"
Yeah. Dude.
It really hit me.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was coming back that far.
Uh-oh.
But you feel bad for an older gentleman who probably doesn't have like the best vision or like we know the best reflexes.
In my
Because
former life, we joked about
Eisenberg.
John Sterling a ton.
Did you see Jake Eisenberg?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So in the booth, foul ball comes to him. He's standing up.
Yeah.
Right. So you don't have the reflexes at age 84 like you do at age 29.
And standing up versus sitting down.
Jake's age is.
I actually like Jake.
But Jake also coughed it up.
Yeah.
It was a knee.
It's okay. By the way, so my guy told me that I could reset TikTok.
Okay.
So my logarithms are back kind of pretty much normal. So last night.
That's got to make you happy.
So last night but I still don't know if I'm all the way caught up. I used to be on TikTok so much, I felt like I was running out of new TikToks. But because I would be on there all the time. So I was like.
But it's weird you say that because your TikTok's my Facebook, right? I don't know why I attached to Facebook like 5-6 years ago.
Are you still booking?
And I'm just watching. But I Facebook watch, I just scroll. The amount of videos that are repetitive over the last 2 weeks, it's turned me off Facebook.
Okay, so
it's weird that you say that because it happened.
I felt like I was seeing this before, and I was like, "Shoot, man, I'm kind of off my game."
Like the same 8 videos.
But so now so I'm redoing it. And by the way, so there's 2 shows. There's one that I started watching just because of TikTok. This show called Nefarious. I'm like all in because it's like this fallen angel story. And the dude that they're interviewing that's incarcerated, he has like these weird mannerisms, and they're like talking about the fall of man and stuff like that. And it's like because normally when there's like these fallen angels, they're like these crazy demonic and this dude is like, I don't know, he's like a genius. Kind of how I envisioned the real story going of
sure
the fallen angels and new covenants and stuff like that. So anyway, that I blame TikTok for that. But I had a recipe that didn't actually come from TikTok. It just came from my head because Micah wanted tacos, like a nacho bar. So I was like, cool, don't have to really go to the grocery store, pretty much have everything. So I was messing around with, I accidentally bought chicken tenderloins as opposed to the breasts. And there's pros and cons to both, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes you get the little ligament thing that you got to cut off of the things that you don't with the breast. But anyway.
Right. But it's slimmer, normally meatier because you don't have as much fat on it.
Correct.
So I'm with you.
Correct. So had a little fajita marinade season. I put it with some olive oil. I put it in a little bullet and I poured it over. I just put it in a bowl. Smelled amazing. And keep in mind, I'm not like a Mexican guy. Well, I'm obviously not a Mexican guy, but you know what I mean.
Foodie.
Like, yeah.
You're not a Mexican.
It's
foodie.
like it's fine. Like I'm not fawning over it, or I don't typically crave it, but it's fine. Right?
If I get a tamale every once in a while,
so
say less.
My new favorite nonstick are my seasoned skillets because I season them now, so I don't even have to use spray. So I said to Mike, I was like, hey, I said, how should I do these? I said, should I grill them and we do like fajita? He's like, no, why don't you just sear them off in the skillet? So I was like, oh, okay. So in one pot I browned chorizo because Caleb had another workout at 5, so he wasn't getting home until 6. And so I did the chicken in the skillet, and everybody swore up and down just because I'm all reliable. Oh, what recipe did you get off of TikTok? Is this a TikTok recipe, Dad? Is this a TikTok? I said, nah, man, I'm just being resilient, man. I used what we had.
Did you eyeball it too?
Oh, yeah. Although I did. So
that is where I feel satisfied at the end of a meal.
On the sneak, though, the greatest gadget I have is my thermometer. Because my whole world changed in barbecuing and grilling and smoking and cooking when I got my meat probe. Because I don't have to really, like, I actually stuck the thermometer in the tenders just because I knew they were seared, they had the color I want, and I wanted to pull them. Like I want to pull them and leave them in the skillet. So I had to be pretty accurate on the temp. But that thing right there, I'll show it to you. My buddy, Council Bluffs. Actually, Nebraska's looking at his son now, Owen.
Not Brian O'Connor.
I don't know why he gave it to me. Maybe it was for like, I don't know, it was for something. But it's game changer. I didn't start doing good ribs till I had it. I mean, I was like, oh for my life. I was like, oh for my life in ribs.
Send it my way. When you season this is going back to
sports. We're going to stick to sports. Yeah. This is about John Sterling.
When you season, whether it's the fall season or the
winter
season.
Well, it could be a sports reference.
Right.
Kwame Brown, he was always talking about seasoning.
And
Kwame Brown's getting loose again.
We've seen people use
that thing is wet.
Like the pepper grinder when they get to second base. So like we talk seasoning in sports.
Right.
When you season your skillet, how often do you do it? Because I'm having the problem right now, and I'm a little bit on the lazier side with it. I only use it every now and then. I never wash it.
I probably season it once a week.
See that.
So I have two. I have the big one and I have the little one. So I use the little water. I have the little metal Brillo pad, just a drop of dishwasher. I scrub that bad boy because I like to see the color come off. It's kind of therapeutic.
Yeah.
Then a little drop of oil. My oven's on 400. I season the inside and the outside.
My steak is sticking.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh man, you gotta reseason that bad boy.
Yeah, I know. I kind of wanted to gauge
because I need some new cookware. Like quiet as kept. Like if I'm not using my skillet, I don't like my.
I don't like my pans.
I don't like mine either.
And my pans are old. Like I have a lot of hand-me-down pans.
Me too.
So like when Ashley and I get married,
Mary Kate and Ashley
on our registry, we have like new pans.
She's still like, hanging in there with you.
Yeah, she is. Can't believe it. Honestly,
good on her. Go Ash.
Most people would say the same thing, not just you.
Like, man, are we there yet?
Yeah, you
like a Kevin Hart movie.
You're like, who's this clown that you're with? He looks like a caricature.
Meet the
acts
Robinson.
like one too.
Meet the Robinsons.
But no. So she's like, but we already have pans. Like we already have pots. We already have silverware. And I'm like,
she's trying to maximize.
And I go, it's okay to get new things though.
Yeah.
Like, especially in that instance where it's like, you don't want to, I'm not the person that's like, hey, I'm putting a treadmill and it's like $1,000 and I'm expecting 12 people to put money toward this treadmill. I'm like,
do people still do that?
Yeah. I've seen
like they piece up. They're like, hey, you want to get to, did I do that with Schaefer?
Sometimes that's okay though. I'm cool with that. If you have friends that are like, hey, this item, say you want an air fryer that's like $150 and you're only one person going to the wedding, you're not going to pay $150 for it. But if you tell like your friend who's at your table, like, hey, let's go in on this gift together. Now it's a different story.
Was it Schaefer's wedding that I pieced up? It was no, it wasn't Schaefer. But I think he had he was super practical. But and I would never, but if I ever got married again, I would do my registry way different. I would be super practical. Kind of like having the first child after the second child. I'm like, changing station. What is that? We don't need the floor and a bag, right? Like just weird. Just
let
weird
me lay down the tarp. You can rest.
So I just like a lot of different things than I did. Like one of my greatest cooking toys, I didn't even know existed 8 years ago. That's my sous vide, or a vacuum sealer.
Not your duvet, your sous vide.
Or I have a what's my other little gadget? Oh, and I taught Zoe how to use it. Like I have an electric. I have a smoking gun. Yeah, you put the wood chips in the top. You light that thing, and I've got it down now where I don't even need the glass case. I can use a Ziploc bag. Close it up. It inflates. Yeah, Google.
I'm looking up what a smoking gun is because the only smoking gun I know is more of an analogy in thrillers or crime movies, things like that.
So like this, there's just lots of things that I wouldn't have
smoking gun
thought to ask for then as I would as I got older.
So does a smoking gun act as a smoker?
Correct.
Interesting.
But you can't use it for like dense things. Like you need it for like to maybe touch it off at the end, or sometimes
like what if I wanted to like get a block of cheese and I put it under like whatever.
It would take you a long time because you'd probably want to cold smoke that. That's just me. But like let's say I want to do I don't love fillets, But sometimes, like, I'll do a fillet, and I'll season it, let it sit right. Like I'm a meat sweat guy more than a binder.
I let mine sit for at least 20 minutes.
I may touch it with the smoking gun before I put it in the skillet to sear, and it still gives me the hint of smoke.
Okay.
And I only have to do it for, a minute or two.
I'm for that.
Shrimp.
How much is that? I'm not going to ask you that.
It was a gift. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not going to ask you that because that's.
I don't know.
I don't. Since it is a gift, I don't want people knowing like how much somebody spends.
No, I'm serious. It's like I don't know. So the whole registry thing is funny. But back to
Amazon says $100
for the gun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you get like these little containers of wood chips.
And
they last.
So it really does act like a smoker.
Oh yeah, you light the chips, you click the thing, and it's like. I think I have some pictures of Zoe using it. And if she was 4 then. If a 4-year-old can use it, anybody can do it.
Yeah, if she can use it, I can use it because we have the same mental capacity.
She's actually really smart, though.
That's what I'm saying.
She had her checkup yesterday. Did not want her dad to go. She wanted her brother to go. She got 2 shots.
I feel like she always wants Caleb to go.
Well, this time it was Micah. She's rolling.
Just kidding. I thought Caleb would have had a driver. So did Micah walk her to the doctor? This
is how dysfunctional our family is. So Zoe was with Jay. She took her, air quotes, separate. She wanted Micah to go. I drove to the doctor's office, dropped Micah off, and I left.
Yeah, how does that make sense? Make that make sense. You know what I think is even funnier is
I drove there shirtless.
I know you.
Yes, you did, Steven.
I know you just based on that situation, but I know you would do anything to make Zoe happy. Like you would just do it if she asked you to do it. Even if you didn't want to do it, you would still do it. Is that the same with Caleb and Micah? Would they just do it to make Zoe happy?
Yes.
So why is that? Because when Clara is around, we do anything for that girl. Like she wants you to you're tired, right? You're on the patio, but she wants you to play in the little water table. Yet you're going to get up and do it because Clara asked you to do it. And she's so cute that you're not going to tell her no. Isn't it funny how we just kind of do that? Like if my younger sister growing up asked me, because we were only a year and a half apart, if she asked me to do something like that, I'd be like, what? What are you talking about?
I think it's different.
But
I think it's different with
when her daughter asked me to do something, I'm like, Clara, where are we going? Like, you tell me how long we're going to be there because I'm on your
drive
time.
to Madison. You want those fresh cheese curds? See you tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
No.
You need a cake pop? I'll drive to Starbucks right now. My dad goes, hey, Andrew, you want a cake pop? Yeah. Nope, none for you.
What are you laughing at, Shane? This dude, grocery shops, by the way, Fairway had bacon for $2.39 a pound. I started to text you. I just don't know how you are with your bacon.
See you later.
I love bacon. Plus, with a bunch of people coming into town, we're going to do breakfast on the griddle. So I'll go there.
You can have
today.
mine. No, you pick it
Your
up.
griddle?
No, the bacon. I go get another one.
No, I can go.
It's It's $5.30, whatever it was, $5.99 for a pound and a half. $5.9 for a pound and a half.
Is it?
I don't know. There could be
Fairway bacon, or is it a name brand?
It's Fairway.
Okay,
it's legit. Like trust me. Yes.
Are you guys going?
It's not John Livingston smoked bacon, but it's
not bacon that you can smell on the way in.
So I'm down to the last bag, and I tried to put it in the tray where my meat goes. It doesn't even fit. It's so long.
I still am salivating from the raw bacon sitting in a bag.
It's so bad. Listen,
at least 6 feet away from me.
I did burgers the other day, and I had just a couple of strips, and I was like, oh, I should not waste this putting on something else. I should just eat it plain. But anyway, I'm still laughing at, because we're always catching up when we get back in here. By the way, we're going to get him back on. Foreman, that's a funny dude. Not near.
Look, man, brother can't even get his bread, man.
Not near as funny as Verzal yesterday. He called me back, because we hadn't been getting along. But
you guys not getting along is still not like the end of a friendship. It's just going back and forth. Like you're good friends giving each other the ish.
So he sent me a text. He's like, "Hey, I'm on the other line. I'll call you back." And I basically said, "You don't have to call me back. I just wanted to say thanks for getting those disposable tins at Restaurant Depot." And he ended up calling me back anyway. So I contemplated answering, I was like, nah, I didn't really want to talk to him. I just was going to shoot him a message to say thanks. And I answered, and the very first thing this idiot said was, "What's the hurt coach's kid doing talking trash to nephew?" I'm like, what? So apparently Caleb and Cash got into it yesterday at Passing League. Verzal's story is not exactly the story. I asked, because obviously we're grading and I'm watching it on Huddle, and I can see Caleb's not doing 7-on-7. Cash is.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to get the story from Caleb because it just sounded a little out of character. And apparently Cash, the ball was rolling on an incomplete pass. Offense is supposed to go get the ball. Somebody must have told Cash to go get the ball. Cash was having none of it. Because Cash must have said something, and then I think Caleb clapped back.
So Caleb was on the sidelines?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And it happened in front of him, right? I'll show you on Huddle. Because I wanted to know, because the way Verzal was getting at me, I was like, man, he loves Caleb, but I think he's kind of mad.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out Verz was just joking, but so I was like, I got to get the real story. So I asked Caleb. Truth's probably somewhere in the middle. So I asked one of our coaches. Yeah, Cash was having none of it. He basically told Caleb to put pads on. And Caleb said they were in the handshake line and they were dapping up. And Caleb was like, yeah, can't wait to get those pads. Cash was like, yeah, see ya. So I'm like, wait a minute. This isn't a Verzal Benning thing. Oh, wait. Yeah, it is.
All right.
But Southeast isn't on the schedule yet. It would have to be playoffs.
All of a sudden.
I like Cash even more. I like Cash even more.
You know they're going to meet.
And I just tweeted out something sweet about him, too, the other day.
Football gods work, man.
With Southeast. So, anyway, I hate missing 7-on-7 on Wednesdays. That's the hardest thing about this job, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because
it 7-on-7 starts so early.
Yeah,
it makes sense. Summer months, you don't want to be out there in the height of the day, the height of the heat, I guess I should say.
So I'm going back and I'm watching all these clips and I'm talking to Coach Quinn. I'm like, hey man, what did we call here? We in zebra? Because I'm trying to. I can't hear the call. I have to speculate when I see it on film. So I'm like at the grocery store and he's like walking me through what actually happened as the play transpired. I was like, man, I need some time off. I need some time off to go coach.
That's some good, clean fun.
Dude, the 7-on-7 at the high school level has gotten so good and competitive now. It just keeps kids sharp. It's our only real version of spring ball. And I think a lot of good.
Do you think it acts more like, the kids playing backyard football more than anything else? Because
kind of, but there are some people that take it real serious. Like my buddy.
But see, I took backyard football seriously.
Yeah,
like when you play with like your buddies, you still want to be the best when you're out there.
And I think, and I want, like we treat it differently. Like we're serious. Like our dudes go. Like we don't.
Are you like Mike Sautter and you're like, I don't care who wins, this game doesn't matter?
We're
talking to Mike Sautter today.
We say that, but you want to get better. Those people aren't telling the truth, man. Like, they just aren't.
I only say that because last week we talked to Sautter, and Sautter, I think, took a little bit of business for acting as if he cared more about one side than the other.
On Twitter, which is his
perception.
Which is his
it was the perception from everybody else.
So
he came out and kind of passively aggressively came and said some things.
I had
on
one of their
media.
parents reach out, and I think good is going to come of it. I think like Nightbird, it's okay. It was a good DM.
We'll be back after the break.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Good morning, Rich. Good morning, Nick. Good morning, Ken. Thanks for joining us on the stream. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Damon Benning, Andrew Rogers. Thankful for all of you joining us on the radio as well. 590 ESPN Radio here in Omaha. And if you want to catch us on the stream, we are live on Twitter. We're live on YouTube at Hurrdat Sports, at Hail Varsity Radio is where you can find that. I'm sure there's plenty others out there. But Rich says, good morning, gents. Have a great show. Nick, who's been, he's been knee-deep in the press conferences of your guy, Bud.
Yeah, so in Nick's honor, just because it's been coming up a lot, I went back to an old picture on my Twitter of me and Bud at the airport together. He's like 12, and I'm like 17. I mean, we are young and little. We're not young. It was probably 8 years ago, maybe.
Like Kenny Chesney young?
Yeah, look at this. This is
Young and the Restless.
much like what we do. This is
Bryce Young.
This is terrible radio, but I'm going to show you the picture. Look at the.
Oh, yeah. That's sweet.
Yeah.
That is sweet. That is something you do a lot, though, in
The
photos.
fist?
The fist.
Yeah. Because a lot of times people want to dab. I don't ever know what to do with my arms.
I pocket it, man.
But I can't put my arms down.
Right pocket if you're on
Yeah.
the right side. Left pocket if you're on the left. Because do you have one arm around him or no?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, pocket it. Because does he have pocket or is he fisting too? Yeah,
Nah,
he's fisting.
his arms around me. But look
Well,
how
yeah,
young
his
look
left
how
arm's
young he
fisting.
looks. But he's got a lot. I've got one with, obviously we spend time together, but I got this old one with Caleb, and I think Caleb's like 10 maybe.
You know what's funny? I saw, full disclosure, when you tweeted the photo yesterday of Micah playing with Denver, the video game, like building his own franchise. And
Can I just tell you what he asked me, what the catalyst was for that?
Yeah, go ahead.
He said, Dad, he called me, which he never does. He usually goes in his room and he closes the door. So I just go in there and I sit on his bed. It drives him crazy, but I'm not going to let my kids get away from me. Right. Like, I'm just not. So he kind of looks at me sideways like, bro, why are you on my bed? That's what he would probably say. But anyway, he called me and he's like, should I give up a number 5 and a number 6 to get the 1? And I was like, I said, where are you with cap space? And he thought about it for a second and he gave me the number. And I was like, I don't know. I was like, who do you want? And he goes, well, I can get Victor, but they may get Scoop Henderson. So Scoop may fall to me.
Mm-hmm.
This is what the little dude is saying to me.
Been there, done that.
And I was like, all right. I said, don't give up a 5 and a 6. See what you can get away with. So he's got like
every trade.
Yeah,
like you're just tossing he's going with like
he goes, this is who I want to start.
Right?
So these guys are untouchables. And I was like, okay. So then I left and I came back in and he goes, hey, Victor ends up going 2, so I got him anyway. But Scoop, he fell to 4 if I would have waited. Because if you ask him in real life, he thinks Henderson is a surefire NBA stud. He's not in on Victor Wembanyama. Doesn't like his body type, says he gets too hurt. He does the Chet Henderson thing. He watches television, right?
I get it. I get it. I mean, he does have the Chet build, but
so
also in the same light, we said Luka wasn't going to have a good NBA
I said, why'd you pick Denver? And he goes, oh, I was just looking at where they were in terms of cap space and who's going to be a free agent. So I just picked them to build build a GM. And I immediately thought, I'm like, you just went into this deal yesterday because you kind of bristled up, right, about the video game thing. You're like, what if I want to play video games? What if I, and I was like, oh, he's peeling back the curtain. This dude's a video game player and doesn't want you in his business, right?
That is me.
But so it immediately made me think of like all the things that you can get out of video games that are real life.
That's how I understood a playbook in football.
Listen,
is Madden like auto plays built in? That's the only reason I know certain like if I'm looking at cover 3, I could write it down for you.
Full disclosure: one of the classes that Betts had to take was gaming. When we have him on sometime,
the playbook,
ask him what he learned from the gaming deal. It'll blow
tons of people.
It'll blow your mind
from playing Madden. Tons of people.
I'm like, shoot, man, 21 hours.
Mm-hmm. Well, it took me a while too to kind of like defensively or to read defenses offensively, because when you play, you obviously are the player who has the ball, so you're the quarterback majority of the time. And when I drop back to pass, it helped me. I used to throw picks all the time. I'm like, oh, this guy's going to be open. But I never read a defense until I started playing more and more. And I could see what the defensive backs were doing. And then I'm like, man, if I played like high school football right now, I think I'd be okay.
So that's funny because my buddy, his son's a quarterback, we play an odd front. So in 7-on-7, we have a back 8, not a back 7, just because we play with 3 down linemen, not 4. So one guy always has to drop. You never know who it's going to be in 7-on-7. It's a great debate. Coaches will say ahead of time, hey, you play an out or an even front. I don't want 8 back there. I don't want an unfair advantage. So we'll either have a guy take a knee or we bring him on a fake pressure, right, just to get him out of there.
Sure.
So we can still work our D. Well, a couple of times, well, at least the one, because as I'm watching it on Huddle now, because I'm a total degenerate, his kiddo threw a pick because, he's anticipating one thing and we're kind of doing another. And I said, that's kind of what makes the 3-4 so hard. And I said, oh, he'll be in good hands, with you as his dad, because his dad was a good player. Like, he's a really smart guy. And he's like, we kind of butt heads, basically saying, in essence, well, it's not a video game. If it was a video game and it happened, it would be easier for me to explain than if it's his dad who's actually played trying to explain it to him.
Right.
So it's just interesting what people gravitate towards as learning mechanisms because you never know. And I thought of that.
And I'm a visual learner. So that's just how I understand things.
Yeah.
If I'm reading something, like if you wrote down, say you just made a 2-page document and you just typed out like, hey, Andrew, cover 3 is this, where you get the defensive back that moves here. Your linebackers put pressure here. Your line, these are the only people there. I wouldn't be able to picture that in my head. I'd need you to show me a photo so that if you're telling me like where the players are
what's
going,
funny about you saying that,
I understand it.
So staffs are the same way. So I worked with a guy, and he's now a bigwig at Peru State. He's coaching college. He was a visual guy. He wanted to see it on the board, right? Because he's a big contingency guy, which is fine. Like everybody needs those. 2 other guys on our defensive staff are kind of spatial guys. Like we'll just say it, and we can kind of visualize it. Like I was in the grocery store yesterday, real quick, and I was talking to Coach Queen, and we were talking about doing something different versus a 3-by-1, like to trips. And he said, yeah, the next thing I think we should put in is this. That way, I'm not giving away anything, but he was saying basically, hey, the flat defender, he can wall, and we can get blank guy to the deep hole. Like I can listen to him say that
and picture what he's telling you.
And I can picture it.
Right. But you also played.
But Coach
Albertson,
that's at Peru, who's a visual guy, he played too. He's a good player, right? And he's a good college coach. But for him, what's his learning mechanism? Well, he wants to see it. Right? He would have been a guy that's not a good online guy. He's probably a guy that would have been good in class. People have different strengths. So I think the ability to play to it is kind of a key, which is, when Coach Rule is like, hey, man, I want guys engaged. We're going back to study table. We're going to be back in class. We're not going to do the online thing. We were talking about experience and how kids learn. I listened to a presser from Esker from Stanford. What do you think he thinks the one advantage to his team is? Knowing how to manage downtime in Omaha. It's not experience, not staff, not the fact that you can rake. Time management, dealing with downtime in Omaha. So it's like,
wow,
you just never know based on experience, like what the real the teaching mechanism is.
And every coach is different.
That's what I think the fascinating thing about sports is. I'm serious. Like the whole cat and mouse thing. I told you I was with Isaiah's dad, with Lamar in Chicago. And you just never know what people are paying attention to. He was breaking down our second half performances. Points scored, kind of points given up. He's like, oh, man, it's about adjustments, man. Many times these coaches, they get into game plans and this thing. He's like, you guys are counterpunchers. And I'm looking at him. I'm like, shoot, man. How big is this thing going to be at week 3, man? It. Like, they're going to put you on staff. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's just, you just never know who's paying attention to what and how people actually learn. It's scary sometimes.
Yeah, I'll tell you something fascinating, too, after the break. Scott, stick around.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Hey, welcome back. We're talking to Jay Johnson, LSU baseball head coach, at the top of the hour. We're talking to Brian Edwards at 8:45. Get his take on some of his favorite betting lines going forward. He's got a couple of college football futures to kick things off with, so stick around for his segment at 8:45. Mike Sautter, a day early at 9 o'clock. I kind of already teased that in the opening segment. And then we'll talk to Michael Bruntz at 9:45. We have the Sports Six-Pack coming your way. I'll tell you something I was fascinated by when taking a look at Coach Rule's so-called class teaching session that we kind of got into a little bit yesterday with expectations for his assistants. He then talked a little bit about the 10-80-10 strategy that he borrowed from Urban Meyer, and the way he implements it is just fascinating to me. So we'll get into that in just a moment, but let's go to the phone now, Shane, and talk to Scott. Scott, good morning. You're on Coffee and Cream.
Good morning, guys. Long-time listener, second-time caller. Wanted to ask you guys today, I'm so excited about the CWS.
Yes, sir.
What are you guys rooting for, and who do you think is going to win it all? Thanks for taking my call.
Ooh, Scott, appreciate the call. 7 of the 8 teams were preseason top 20. That's something to keep in mind when you're picking a team. Obviously, Oral Roberts, the odd man out. I'm between one of the top 3 teams, DB. Wake Forest just looks unstoppable, but they're not your typical I see you a lot team, right? You have LSU, who's really the only blue blood in the field. And I almost wonder if this is the year for the blue blood, because the last blue blood to win was probably Arizona in 2012. And then, as you know, Virginia is interesting to me. I don't know why. I'm just getting championship vibes from that program. Maybe it's because I watched most of their super regional play over any other team. If I had to choose, do I choose the team with basically no flaws, or do I choose the team with the top prospects? I'll probably go 1 and 2 here. Give me Wake Forest. Like, I hate being that guy that takes the number 1 overall team, but we haven't seen, frankly, it could be looked at as like an underdog take because we haven't seen a number 1 overall team win since 1999. And, they have first rounders on that team too. And, a team like Wake Forest just doesn't come around too often. What we're seeing is just so unique.
Sorry, for the major collegiate sports is the for a blue blood to win, is it the hardest in baseball to do?
Oh, I
For
think
sure.
100%.
For sure.
I mean, because you see it all the time in the other sports.
I think 100%. The
So many variables.
Whoever
in
wins the
baseball.
College World Series, and forgive me for not using MCWS or WCW.
It's the College World Series. There's a College World Series for softball. There's a College World Series for baseball.
I don't know if I'm being defiant, but I just don't distinguish
Hashtag
between
MCWS this week.
If I'm talking about softball, I'm saying the CWS. If I'm talking about baseball, I'm saying
CWS.
The CWS. I'm kind of over the designation, but anyway, that's a nice political hot take, right, DB? I guess. Anyway, so it's 3 different things for me. I think the team that I'm cheering for is probably Stanford. The team that I think is going to win it is Virginia. The dark horse for me, because I feel like...
Why do you say Virginia before you get to your dark horse? Why do you say Virginia?
I love their temperament. And I probably know the most about them, although Wake Forest is second.
See, what's weird is I think I like Virginia most because of just their pitching reliability over the past month.
They just don't blink.
Also, though, sleeper, check out LSU's bullpen. They may not have the best starters.
No,
but
I
you
know.
Look at their bullpen.
So I can't remember who we were talking to last week, and I said quietly, like Guidry and those guys, they're starting to come along. So I think Virginia wins. I'm cheering for Stanford. But you want a team, and they're not a dark horse because they're top 4 faves in terms of odds. Nobody talks about them enough, and I think it's because people don't like their head coach.
Okay.
Florida's better than people think.
Much better. Kind of sleeping on them, too. Also, remember that Florida is a winning team over the last 5-6 years.
For their seed, I feel like they're overlooked.
When they win, 2017?
I'm telling you, like, that's a really good baseball team, and they've got some electric arms. So
you said you're cheering for Stanford.
Yep.
Your team to pick is Virginia, and your dark horse is Florida.
And I use dark horse
differently in this case.
Because I think
people aren't paying attention to them. So that's why you're dark horse.
They aren't.
Interesting. So if I chose Wake
Forest,
Forest,
they have a really good roster.
So I guess I'm probably cheering for LSU. I think Wake Forest will win. And my dark horse, Tennessee.
I could see it. Although
also a team I think a lot of people are sleeping on.
Although I think Patello leaves a little to be desired in game. But if they get going, they are a handful. Right? Like they're the consummate front runners in this deal. If they get going,
they're scary.
They look like they're the team that can play downhill.
Right.
So I mean, I just like Virginia's.
Meet Virginia.
I like their composure.
I really
like their
this
pitching
field.
depth too. No,
I like not having a team.
It's highly competitive.
Does that make sense to everybody out there? I like not having a team because when I go, I can just cheer for the game versus a certain team and just, lose all hope in them throughout the World Series, live or die. By the way, say TCU plays. No, I can enjoy TCU Oral Roberts
How
game
about
1.
us
I can
just not even
appreciate
getting into TCU
an 8 seed. I can appreciate TCU also being that team.
TCU has better odds than Stanford.
And now, frankly, TCU is getting slept on kind of like Florida.
Yeah.
In regard to, don't forget this was preseason top 15.
And they're
TCU.
and they've been so streaky, but they're hot.
Oh, and they're hot.
they are definitely hot. I don't. It's a tough field, man. I think it's a tough field, and breaking
And
not
they're
so,
hot.
exactly DC and breaking but not so breaking news. Jordy Ball has made it official on her Twitter account. Nebraska softball tweeted out about 15 minutes ago
that she's going to UNO.
Jordy was a little before that, but I thought it was cool how she used her old school recruiting pictures on her Twitter account.
Congratulations to Jordy for making the move. Also, congratulations to the state team.
Yeah, got better,
much better.
And I was supposed to do
what's expectation? Big Ten championship now?
I was supposed to do some investigating on whether Wallace could have another year or not. Does she have a COVID year?
When I looked it up, it said senior, or did it say graduate senior?
Can't remember.
Or graduate student.
I couldn't.
I almost want to say now it said graduate. So I want to say she does have a COVID year.
Well, she does. That's some 1-2 punch. But I have to double check.
She's only a senior, so I'm assuming
I got to ask
she
Coach,
could even become a graduate student.
Coach Rebel, what her plans are.
Now it depends on eligibility.
Yeah.
But if that COVID year is there, there's no way she would have used the COVID year being listed as a senior. So she should have at least one more year.
I don't want to speculate.
I'll speculate for everybody.
Yeah. Should I fire one off? Hey, good morning.
This is going to be a really fun team to watch. Another team that's been very fun to watch, or at least a fun coach to follow along with, has been Coach Rule, and just kind of his isms, right? His way of thinking. And he did a little so-called TED Talk on the 10-80-10 strategy as almost a follow-up to what we heard yesterday with his expectations for his assistants. And I find this just so fascinating.
I know you're captivated.
So the 10, he claimed his engaged employees, the 10%. The 80 are you're not engaged, but don't think like, oh my gosh, that means they're not in. What he means by not engaged is they're satisfied, but just not well connected. They don't go above and beyond, but they do what's asked of them. They do the job. And then you have the other 10%. That's the actively disengaged, the emotionally disconnected. And they could really jeopardize or hurt the culture of the team. The top 10% being your most enthusiastic. You know you can rely on them to always strive to be the best, the above and beyond. But here's why I found this principle so interesting is Rule said he'll spend more time with the top 10% than the bottom 10%. And that sounds backwards, right? Normally, you would think I got to pick up the slackers in order to make everything work again or work best. But what he's doing, and I never thought about this, what he's doing is taking the top 10%, the actively engaged, the elites of the team, the ones that will handle every bit of pressure and that strive for that pressure, and it becomes a trickle-down effect. Then if you look at the curve of the 10-80-10, that 80 is going to swing more to the top 10 versus the bottom 10 if you're focusing more on that lower half. And it's just fascinating the way to look at that, because most people, at least in the workplace, would think I got to get the people that are just not fully bought into the middle more than I need the middle to be closer to the top 10.
It's interesting because people have said this different for, you ever had that coach that says you need to worry when I stop talking to you, not when I do, right? So those coaches are basically saying, listen, man, if you want to live in that bottom 10%, I'm good. Do you? I like to look at it, and I've never given it numbers, but it's like best practices for teaching. You want to move the bottom closer to the middle closer to the top. Now, how you divide your energy is usually kind of the blueprint to how successful that's going to be. Because if you teach to the top 10%, you can reach some diminishing returns. But if you can, you laud, you applaud, you bring attention to, then that bell curve, that bulk is like, oh, hey, I want to be there. How can I get some of that love? Pay attention to what the top 10% is doing.
we'll get into more of that later on in the show. Talking LSU baseball next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
Hey, top of the hour here on Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Damon Benning, Andrew Rogers. We just got word that Coach Jay Johnson had to postpone his interview with us on the show. We're doing that Friday, right?
He's on
up.
I think a coach's conference.
Coach's conference call. So he.
It sounds like it's going to be something.
Zip it.
Zip it, Marty.
Where was that?
Zip it like Zipline
When
Brewing.
you're not, yeah, like Zipline Brewing. Hey, by the way, pour one out for the homie. How about? Actually, he's still with us though.
Tupac still with us?
What makes you say that?
How about
It was his song.
Shane? How about my man Malik Collins getting paid by the Houston Texans yesterday?
That thing wet.
Yeah, his bank account is wet. $20 million guaranteed for Malik Collins.
Look good, feel good.
Oh man, some Nebraska fans just poo-pooing all over this guy when he wanted to leave early, and the recruiting process. And Bo said he was gonna. This is way back before you drew down with this, like, because we have a ton of talent evaluators.
What's it? A 2-year extension?
20 mil guaranteed though. Go MC. A lot of people were mad when he left. Okay, but God, he has been a monster, and good on you, Malik Collins, man. One of the good dudes. Good.
He's one of the good ones.
He is. He is. He's something else. I got caught up, Shane. I went down the rabbit hole a couple nights ago watching the Foster Farms Bowl. I had a hard time believing when Nebraska beat UCLA. I forgot they were 5-7. They had to use like graduation rates to get a bowl invite. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It was a miserable time for sports talk.
It was.
Oh.
And part of it was
Days were like, it was so divisive and chippy and nasty, and it was just not
a fun morning.
And you're typically Mr. Positive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you'd have struggled. It would have it would have really challenged you. Really. What we got the nice mics, and we got the nice Mike Rally and the jokes about his wife Dee bringing him coffee, and it was a debacle. It was I forgot they were 5-7. Some of that offense was sweet, man. When Tommy Armstrong was rolling, man, he looked nice. But that was fresh after his Iowa game where, remember, Shane, I had a meltdown on radio. I was so mad at him.
In today's world, in today's
Because
college,
I felt like against Iowa, he threw in the towel.
in today's college football world,
You've
where
told that story before.
Yeah.
where you schedule these non-conference games against big opponents so far out in advance, whether it be Oklahoma, UCLA, or whatever. We're talking years out in advance. It doesn't always matriculate, if you want to use that word.
Matriculate. Shane Ben and his thesaurus.
To something that's positive. I mean, because you got such turnover in coaches and players nowadays. You're looking at a different team than what you thought you would have. Once you get to that game 4 or 5 years down the road. That was bad times with UCLA.
Yeah. Hey, and they kind of got a break on their schedule. And speaking of which, did you see the SEC schedules yesterday?
I did. Yeah.
Dude, we can no longer say they do Bama a solid.
Well, they play Georgia in 2024.
Oh, their schedule? Like, giddy up.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, and by the way, welcome to the league, Oklahoma. What I see, they had a West Side schedule. I think Oklahoma had no, and I joke, right? Because we only had 4 home games last year. I think Oklahoma has less than that.
Yeah, I didn't go into detail with Oklahoma, but I
wanted
up and down.
So I was going back and forth with you all day yesterday with Oklahoma Tyler, and I wanted to make sure that I paid attention to Oklahoma's schedule, but then I didn't. I forgot to text him back last night, but golly, they got served a dish of haterade if you're Oklahoma. And Bama's gonna have to buck
Texas,
up.
Bama, Tennessee, South Carolina, and then their away games: LSU, Auburn, Ole Miss, Mizzou.
Yeah, enjoy that. And I think the Texas game is in Dallas.
It
right?
is. It is. It's in Dallas.
Yeah, enjoy. Now look at Bama's schedule.
Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, Mizzou, South Carolina, and then their road games: LSU, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Vandy.
It's just, you want to play 8 conference games, I guess. Giddy up. But it's what should happen, right? You want the fellas playing the fellas. At least as I see it.
Wait a second here.
What?
Okay, I'm looking at the 2024 conference schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
you're talking about Alabama,
and I'm talking about Oklahoma. Okay,
yeah.
So it says Oklahoma. What? Oh, okay. It's not in any particular order.
No.
All right. I solved my problem. I'm like,
No.
these don't match up.
No, they don't have the dates yet.
Yeah. But I saw that Oklahoma or Alabama was on the road against Oklahoma. And then I'm like, wait, Oklahoma, Alabama's second on that list. And my brain went a whole different direction there. I'm back. Okay. I'm back on my lane. You know, I didn't even get to finish my story earlier. You know, the reason we were talking about Micah and video games is because when I saw that you tweeted me yesterday, I knew it was Micah that you were talking about because you had mentioned your 13-year-old. But I did not know, like, when I say I like did some like digging, because we were talking about photos and old photos. And you're talking about Caleb having some younger photos with Micah. Like, I didn't know if Micah, like, if I had the spelling right. Yeah. Like, I had Micah in there because that's the biblical name,
which is where it came from.
But I didn't know if like his name had a more unique twist to it.
No.
So I'm like, I got to look this up. And so I Google searched your son yesterday to make sure I had the right spelling.
So you got his TikTok, his Instagram,
I got everything,
in all his glory.
And then I got photos from, I don't know if it was his page or your page, of him and Caleb, and then Micah and Zoe from like super young ages. And I just low key, it kind of creepy, I guess, was like looking at those photos and thinking like, oh my gosh, look at young Micah. Yeah. Oh, look at young Zoe. And I'm like, this is weird. I should stop doing this.
It's funny too, because he flies under the radar just because of the lineage or whatever, the birth order. And Caleb was training yesterday late, and Micah wanted to go with him because he hates sitting around. So he's always like, ask DJ if the building's open and this, that, and the other. And DJ was doing some training of some families because he has a life coaching business. And so Lob takes Breeze to the gym with him. And I asked, because Caleb's training is very specific, right? Like, there's just a couple of things that we want to work on. So Grant, his trainer, who, by the way, is, shout out to Grant Eberly. Like, this dude is so good at what he does. But anyway, we're just texting, and Caleb came home. He's like, yes, because that was his third workout. And he's like, I said, hey, got to be careful, reach a point of diminishing returns. He's like, no, this is biomechanics, just opening me up, this, that, and the other. Because he's super motivated. Because apparently he's come up with this theory that he's not very good. So, and I'm like, hey, keep that same energy, right? You're not very good, not very good.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, you
whatever.
Suck.
Right. I just keep telling you, like, we keep mental receipts, right? And we just been in the lab.
Mm-hmm.
So Grant texts and he goes, yeah. He goes, yeah, the boy's looking good, yada, yada, yada. He goes, but Micah, this dude is pretty smooth. And I try to tell people, if his mindset was in Caleb's competitive, like his once he gets on the court or the field, that would be like the complete person. But Micah's gonna be just really good. Now he wants to go to Nebraska's camp on Monday because a couple of his buddies are going.
Oh, that's cool.
But he wants new cleats. I'm like, what, whatever. We're just talking about it. And I said, well, you need cleats, gloves, t-shirt. And he's like, Dad, I keep gloves. I've got gloves. I was like, this little dude.
Sounds good.
But he's probably more of a hooper
right
than he is football. But we were talking last night after dinner about Amari Bynum, who got an offer from Iowa State, which is pretty cool. So we're in the car and he's talking about local guys getting offers. And he goes, man, was his dad pretty good? And I said, yeah. I said, where his dad went to school? I said he was a Husky. He went to Omaha Northwest. And he asked if he played like he coaches because his dad is very, very intense. And I'm like, yeah, Omar. I said he was really intense. He went to Iowa State. And immediately, what's the first thing Micah said? And I don't know if I'd want to go to the same school as my dad. I was just like, you get like, you know what I mean? After all the talks that we've had about the last 3 weeks in recruiting and whatnot, but congratulations to Amari Bynum on another offer. He picked up
Did he pick up Tennessee?
Yeah.
I was just making sure. I was double checking. I thought I saw that yesterday.
Iowa State and Tennessee. So
what, Tennessee just bringing their whole athletic department to Omaha while they get to the College World Series.
I mean, while you're here, right?
And then you're just going to go on the recruiting sesh.
Tell you what, man. I mean, good on him. I'm probably happiest. Wait, is it happiest or the most happy?
Happiest.
It's 2 syllables, so I can get an EST, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm so happy!
You're an idiot.
This is the best day of my life.
For Coach
This is the best day of my life!
For Coach Gully over at Bryan, because I told you like 3 or 4 weeks ago, like it would not bother me to have my kids spend time with Coach Gully.
Right.
I'm a big Bryan guy. And so shout out to Amari, who we see quite a bit. Long, athletic, grew a ton in a little bit of time. So he went kind of these like growing pains. But silky smooth, man. Picked up 2 D1 offers.
You talked about how you never want your boys to ever think that they're the best. Like, not literally saying like, hey, you suck, but like keep that same energy.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes back to the point that we were just talking about at the 7:45 point when I brought up kind of what captivated me about Coach Rule's 10-80-10 strategy. Because the other thing to that, the other point that he made me think about was, hey, when you're in that top 10%, like there's another 10-80-10 in that top 10%.
Yeah.
And it kind of bleeds into that point that you made of, hey, you can always be better. There's always something more to strive for. In that top 10%, how about you be the top 10% of that top 10%? And then when you reach that point, how about you be the top 10% of the Big 10? And then how about you be the top 10% of Power 5 football? And you can just keep going and going. And that's where Coach Rule
that's why they're always talking about Lions.
And they're always talking about constantly chasing and never staying complacent.
When you read the list of duties that he wanted his assistant coaches to do in the offseason, didn't that make you uncomfortable?
It did. It seemed like a lot for, and it seemed like you're sacrificing a lot of time because we know Coach Rule's big on his time management and work-life balance,
yeah.
Right? But when you read that list, you're like, hey, when do they have time to go home?
Yeah, it seems like a lot. But what's the first thing that he said when we first started really opening each other up, right? He said, the number one thing that I want to guard against at the university that's given me everything that I've asked is complacency.
Mm-hmm.
My coaches need to know this is not Disneyland. We are here to do a job. And what did he reiterate the other day online where he said, I don't care if you make $1 or if you make $100,000 as a coach, you're paid to get better,
mm-hmm.
right? You have a responsibility to get better. So he's constantly, now maybe he'll reach a point of diminishing returns. I don't know. But he stays on the gas, right? It's like, because I'm nodding my head and I'm cringing at the same time as I look at this list. I said, gosh, I looked at it both ways, as a coach and as a parent. Hey, you calling me up? How much do I want to know? Hey, you're taking my kiddos out to eat, whatever, right? I told you the story off air. Coach Lamanji asks of his assistant coaches, I want your top 4 positional drills. I want your individual. I want the progression, preferably on video. If not, you better be a good drawer. That's the right term, right? Artist.
Yeah.
Let's just say be a good artist.
You were right though.
I want it by June 1st. You're sitting around and you're like, and maybe it's just me.
You're probably in that session nodding your head, and then you leave and you're like, what am I getting myself into?
I'm like, wait a minute. Like, he doesn't trust us? But Coach Rule said, it's like, listen to me, Coach Rule said. No, I say that to say, like, show me your assistant coaches and their drill work, and I'll show you whether he's a good coach or not. So you look at that as like, so you're out there on a weekend or a weekday, you're rounding up 6 or 7 of your guys, you're videoing the drill, you're walking through the teaching progression, and everybody has to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hey, I uploaded it. It's on this site. We'll do hand strike, shuck shed, whatever it is, right? And he wants it all. because when we meet post practice or whatever, and you talk about what you're doing for the next day, he wants to move fast. Hey, what are your drills? What are your drills for this day? What are your drills for that day? How much time do you need for individuals? Because we build the schedule every day based on what we need to do. And it seems like a lot in the beginning until you can move rapid fire in season, right? So he'll say, and he did it last, Coach Frank was really good at this too. Like he'd say, if we're not tackling well, he'd say, hey, listen, the drill that we talked about in the summer, let's do this for this amount of minutes. You can just talk to him shorthand, right? Same as if you're with your guys and that your staff, and let's say Tommy Hill or Teddy Prask, they come out and they're kind of in a certain mood, right? Or the workout didn't go the way that you wanted to. And, you can look at Donnie or Coop and say, hey, listen, where are we at emotion? Like, what's going on? Like, when's the last time you touched base? When's common language builds in what? Accountability. It just, so the list looks daunting when you look at it. But once you understand that that's just how you do business, you know how quickly you can run through checks and balances. Hey, Gabe was a little off today, man. Coach Barthel would be able to say, listen, talked to his folks last night, just got back from such and such, hypothetically. Or, hey, what's going on with Bullock? Well, last night when we were at dinner, or last week when I talked to him, we said that he had, it's just built and accountability. Yeah, no, he's not using his hands. Like, where are we with this shuck and shed drill? Where are we with this block destruction drill? Like, are we progressing where we need to be? And it's just
knowing enough to have an answer.
It just condenses the information. But I'm telling you, when I looked at it, I was like, goodness.
Well, and they expect all that from the players too. They expect you to buy into football and nothing more than that. Like football and academics, you buy into your schooling, but you buy into playing football. That's why you're at Nebraska. So they expect the same thing out of their coaches. They don't want their coaches preaching one thing and then not doing another thing. And then you talk about having meals together and having those answers.
Remember when that seemed hokey?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no, wait a minute.
It really did.
We can't have our phones at the dinner table either. Why do I say that? Because I want to talk.
You want conversations to take place. Everybody is buried into a screen nowadays. But to have a real relationship with somebody, you have to put the phone down. You have to close the screen. We talk to and you see examples of this all the time. And maybe it's not just football, because especially with Nebraska, the game that falls the day after Thanksgiving means you're not really going to have if you're having a meal together, it's not like, hey, the position groups are going over, like the wide receivers aren't going over to Garrett McGuire's apartment, or better yet, in the tight end room. They're not going over to Wager's family home to eat dinner at the table. They're probably all eating together because it's the day before a game. But if you're looking at other teams or even other programs, say volleyball, for example, that may not be playing on that day, but they may all go over to Coach Cook's house if they can't travel back home for Thanksgiving. And it's having those connections so that no matter what comes up throughout the season, if Coach Barthel was asked, hey, why did Gabe, practice like that today? Like, what's going on with him? Like, what should I know? You have enough information to tell Coach Rule that answer, and then they can address it. Or, by having those details, you can address it in the moment yourself as a position coach.
Yeah, and what if Coach McGuire could say something like, Kim's having a day or whatever, and it's like, hey man, everything good with, how's Marcy? How's how's Jill, or whatever the names are.
You care about the family
and the players, and I'm telling you, there's something. That's why it tugged at my heartstrings a little, because there's something in that where it's like, why do I like in 2023? Why do I like Jason Peters as much as I do? Well, it's not because we hang out every other day. It's because I know his story. Well, how do I know his story? Because I got out of my comfort zone, right? I stopped sitting with the running backs one day and at the training table, and it's like you go over and sit with the linemen. You know, I'm like, how did these guys have 18 potatoes on their you know, I just was curious. So we would sit down and we would talk, and you know, he tells me a story, you know, no offers coming out of high school. He was young for his age, had to go to prep school, wasn't very good. And here I was thinking, oh man, these guys, these rich guys from the East Coast, mean-spirited, they don't like anybody. Like, you have all these preconceived notions, and it's not really like that at all, which is in turn why I briefly told just a random stupid story about, you know, I was over at Fountain Glen, right? The LP wasn't at home. Who lives 2 floors up? Peters. I'm already there. Let me just say, hey, we end up, you know, kind of hanging out. If you don't know those guys, then it's different when they check you in practice, right? Let's offense, get it in gear. Hey, defense, get it in gear. Hey, you know, DB, get your chin out of your chest. Or they used to say some crazy things. I was like, I don't even know what that stuff means, but chin out of my chest. I'm like, oh, get my head up. Like, why don't you just tell me to get my head up, right? Or whatever. But they're if you don't have that equity in terms of you being for me, it doesn't land the same, which is why I think ultimately peer-to-peer correction and being able to handle peer criticism will be received well when it comes from a good place. Because if the culture is good enough where it can auto-check you, you don't have anybody to bitch and moan to. Like, that's ultimately the end game. Even if you're a coach, well, what are you talking about? You're making X amount of money. You're around great kids. They don't tell you no. Like, what are you in your feels about? You want to talk about this? And then all of a sudden you zip it. You're like, oh yeah, good point. Right.
Yeah. Why am I being a crybaby?
Right. Right. Could be a lot worse.
Hold me accountable. So and having that trust.
So those little built-in.
And it doesn't even have to come from the assistant coaches. It, as you said, peers, it will come from players too.
Yeah.
And if you are that tight-knit family group, spending all this time together, knowing each other's personalities, you'll be okay to take on whatever somebody tells you because they are looking out for your best interest.
Right. Yeah. So we just had a practical example, right? We spend a lot of time talking around each other, you know, intimate details. You having a problem with your garage? Oh man, hey, listen, I come by, we fix it on the Wi-Fi. I'm not that smart, but we can figure that out. Or man, you don't want to run to the store and grab some bacon? Just come by and grab it out of the you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so stuff like that, I can't explain it in, you know, like real words where it gives meaning, but it's the thing that you said that you would do for your niece and family that you ordinarily wouldn't do because there was whatever that sense of connection. And we always say, you know, real brotherhood is would I replace the pain? Would I take what you're going through? And when you get to that point, will I trade places with you? That's how you win 1-score games. I'm telling you.
Wow. What a way to cap off this conversation. That right there, the quote about brotherhood. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more Coffee and Cream. Stick around.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Hey, welcome back. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Damon Benning and Drew Rogers. Tonight is the night to head to Warner Park at 7:05. If you don't want to miss Union Omaha night, you get to meet the players from the USL1 squad, Union Omaha, and get autographs on the concourse. Guess what also is fantastic about Thursdays, DB? Guess. I'll tell you. You don't have to guess. It's $2 deal day, baby, which means you get Berm tickets, hot dogs, nachos, prepackaged popcorn, small soft serve ice cream, small Pepsi products, and, you know, the favorite for everybody over 21, domestic beer cans, $2 each while supplies last. This game presented by Pinnacle Bank. So if you're looking for something to do before the College World Series starts up, you go to Warner Park. Now, if you are looking for something to do when you're at the College World Series, well, you should check out their kickoff party at Omaha Design Center. It's the opening day celebration, the outdoor pre-party experience that you don't want to miss. A live DJ, yard games, private bathrooms, game day food and drinks. You have premier viewing of the games on ESPN TVs inside, and you can reserve your kickoff party tickets for $20 a person at omahaeventgroup.ticketleap.com. Also, they'd love to host your private pre-party experience for your corporate company during the College World Series. So if you want to check out Omaha Event Group and how they could host that private get together for you, contact Beth Rayer, Beth at omahaeventgroup.com. I was looking through the comments during the break, and we love the interaction that we get on StreamYard, and I thought we could address a couple before we move forward. The first, Travis says, Ball played 2 years and has 2 years eligibility left. Great for Nebraska softball. Absolutely. Now, Travis, what we need you to do is look up Courtney Wallace for us and see if she can play at least one more year for Nebraska softball.
I was at the fairway off of Giles, really the one off of Jersey Road. You know what I'm talking about, off of like 82nd or whatever. And was walking out, and a couple Monarch guys in there, and somehow I had on something West Side, weird, right? And we struck up a Legion baseball talk, and we were talking about it morphed into Jordy, and they were talking about how the guy's like, man, she's like the Pied Piper. You know, she had this softball camp yesterday or day before yesterday, whatever it was, 2 days ago. And it was like, has captivated the hearts of every softball player in that community. Can you imagine she makes the announcement on social media, already on her way back, right? Or here, has a softball camp, and it's like mob deep. And everybody's just like, Jordy, just the
people are in,
all in.
How many games?
She darn near broke the internet. So how many times have you seen softball trending on the ticker the day that she announced that she was
I haven't seen softball
It was breaking news. It flashed in red.
Unless it was the WCWS. Like, I don't see softball ever trend, but after that's over and you see one player with the significant value to bring a trend to Twitter.
Yeah.
It's a rarity. And you don't come across that story too often.
One of the guys knew her pretty well, and because I think he played against or with from her significant other, and he's just saying she doesn't give a what about the pressure either. Like, it doesn't even phase her, which is kind of interesting to say. Like, at her age, you almost wonder, like, is she that good at it not showing, or is she really that Teflon at that age? You know what I mean? Where it's just like a lot of pressure. You can use that term loosely. I still think pressure is a privilege. So the way that she embraces it and eats it up, man, has been, I don't know. It's gonna be fun. Attendance just went up 20%. And they don't have the room.
That's what I was going to ask. How many games are you going to see the flocks of people just surrounding the field, right?
It's
not in a seat, but standing room only.
They already draw well. And I think the cool thing is for her and Coach Ravel and Coach Sipple folks that I have a ton of respect for, just to have it come back to the fold after how it kind of shook out when she first chose Oklahoma, and, you know, Coach Ravel was under investigation for whatever. And, you know, Bill Moose was kind of taking his sweet time. And I just remember asking all those people in the softball community that had played and tried to get backstories, and just to see it all come back full circle and to hear her see those. That's why, in just kind of knowing that backstory, seeing her use those pictures in her tweet from back in the day, the original recruitment, all in.
Mm-hmm. The second thing that I read on StreamYard was Ken adding into our conversation with the SEC schedule, and says, with a 12-team playoff, strength of schedule is going to matter more than it ever has. And, you know, it's funny that you bring that up, Ken, because on Monday I was talking to Sam a little bit about that. And DB, you were on the phone for a good portion of that conversation doing, I would say, just as important of things. And I had brought that up to Sam because I said, will the committee actually factor that in with the SEC's scheduling? Because it seemed as though when the SEC released their schedule, it wasn't going to be as competitive as it started to look yesterday. Because you look at, say, a Florida, for example, a team that's probably on the outside looking in more years than not, but could fall into the 12 if they just had the win total to get there. And so that's
You're talking about the bottom line number?
Correct.
Or the right wins? The bottom line number?
What do you mean by the right wins?
So remember how we kind of broke down what a 9-3 could look like?
Okay. So if you see a 9-3, do they only see the 9-3, or do you look at the strength of schedule? And that was kind of my question, because I don't have a lot of faith in the committee to look at strength of schedule when it comes to that time, because we see so many cases, at least recently, where there's 10-2, 9-3 teams, even an 8-4 team, and that could probably bleed into that 12.
I'm kind of drawing a blank. I just remember this being a thing. At what point last year did we think Bama was not going to be able to creep their way back into the championship discussion? It was pretty late in the game, and I'm like, there's no way Bama gets another look at this. And everybody was painting these scenarios on how Bama could sneak through the back door, and I'm like, without playing for the championship? But I say that to say, I know why you don't trust it, because of the star power, the branding power, but with so many eyes and bigger seats at the table. Like, you think Texas and Oklahoma and A&M and Auburn to some degree, LSU, who's going to be good, will say, listen, we're tired of Alabama getting the benefit of the doubt. What about us too? Or do you think it's they're part of the SEC, go SEC? Because until people get called out for inequities in terms of looking at a resume, people are going to continue to do it. So is it the name power that yields? We saw this. Well, would Bama beat Ohio State? No, absolutely. Like, we had these discussions late in the season, even though Bama had already wet the bed.
Mm-hmm.
And we still made the cases for Bama to be doing what they're doing. Will it always be that way? Or now that you got a bigger conference with two other teams coming, and they bring their own star power. Now, whether they live up to the billing, I just saw this weekend, Oklahoma has 3 of the top 6 defensive linemen in for official visits this weekend. And who knows what happens with Venables, but will they command enough respect on the national scope with the brand recognition to look at the schedule in its totality? I don't know. It seems like Bama up to this point has been above that.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't it? Or is
No, you're not wrong by saying that.
It just so
you get that feeling because of their brand recognition, because of the national championship appearances and the national championship.
Which was that's just why I was so surprised that the schedule was as tough as it was on paper. And again, you're talking to a guy
was it last year or 2 years ago that we talked about Alabama being a 4 seed, or maybe they should be the 5 in the nation before just the Final Four. Regardless, that's a year that I thought, okay, you're getting this spot because you're Alabama.
Their benefit of the doubt. Yeah. So I don't know. Are you ready to put stock in it?
I hope that the committee looks at strength of schedule. Will it happen? I'll believe it when I see it.
Dude, I think the 8-game conference thing could come back to bite them when it comes to all things being equal.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
When we come back, we're going to talk to Brian Edwards. We'll hit some of those early college football lines, maybe the UFC card, and sprinkle in some other things. He's next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio. Now, Vegas insider, senior handicapper, and fan of the cold Budweiser bottles, Brian Edwards.
It's got to be touchdown, touchdown, touchdown.
Brian Edwards.
I don't really love it.
Brian Edwards.
Were they using the cream cheese to butter the bagel?
Brian Edwards.
I'm going with the cowgirl.
Here is Brian Edwards.
As we are soaring through the air, we're going to touch down the plane now
Lord.
and talk to Brian Edwards, MajorWager.com and BrianEdwardsSports.com at Vegas B. Edwards on Twitter. He'd be proud of me. You know why? Because I cashed in for $160 the other day on an 8-leg hit parlay in Major League Baseball. What's up, B? Oh, no! We can't hear you. He's scrambling. Is it our end?
You just got to click the.
Is it our end? His end?
I bet it's a mute thing.
Let's see. Nope,
not now.
Not now.
I can see him say now.
Shane, what about that button? We good on our side?
He said, oh.
Yeah, the mute is not on.
Okay, the mute is not on.
Caught it up.
We're good there.
You were all excited to
I
tell him
know.
your joke.
And I'm good now, right? I'm good.
It's all right. Yeah. Okay.
Good morning, B.
All right.
What's
Good morning,
up, bud?
gentlemen. What's
All right.
happening?
React. Hype me up.
Listen.
Oh yeah, good hit. Good hit.
What
on the
kind of
parlay.
degenerate are we talking about that I'm sitting next to, Brian? Where he's talking about eight-leg hit parlays?
First off, if it's an 8-leg parlay, how did it only pay $160? Was it only a $5 parlay?
I think it was only like $7 left in the account. So I just threw it on like a hit parlay in the Cardinal game. And believe it or not, even though the Cardinals lost, never put their money line mixed it. Don't mix in their money line. But even though it lost, yeah, you're right. It should be a lot more with those odds.
He said, well, first of all, let's get to the numbers.
You know I'm a degenerate too when I'm putting $7 on a bet.
B, you said you just basically ran out of time to cap Major League Baseball. Is that kind of why you got away from it, or was it the degree of difficulty?
No, I've always thought baseball is the easiest sport to bet if you're on top of it. I just didn't have the passion for it anymore. And when you get done with that late August to March Madness grind, the last thing I just got to the point where the last thing I wanted to do was just to jump into baseball, where I think it's the easiest sport to bet if you're on top of it every single day. I mean, you take a 4-day vacation and you tune out on it, you can get lost on it real quick. So I was a massive Braves fan growing up, and all their just massive postseason failures and Chipper's retirement and Smoltz, Glavine, etc. leaving. And I just was out on baseball.
Two people have already asked me this, and one just came through Twitter. So I have to ask you, will we see you at the CWS as Florida's celebrity?
I haven't made it. And I know Damon and Gary got on me forever for not coming out there.
Yeah.
And the Gators are there, but I'm not that into baseball, man. Just not into it.
Hey,
Sorry.
how much? So was it like that poop eating canary swallow grin watching Oliveira Saturday?
Man, that was fun, wasn't it?
He is a monster.
It's so wild how he wasn't really getting pounded by Benil when he was on the ground, but Benil was on the top in great position early.
Got loose.
And it just well, obviously he got loose, but it also reminded me of how Dustin and Gaethje and Chandler were all kicking his rear end in the first 2 or 3 minutes of round one, but then he just turned it all around and got a first round finish.
Yeah, what was that? That was like at the 4-minute mark too. So
yeah,
he was getting pounded for a fair amount. Were you pleasantly surprised? I know we kind of both talked in the back of our head that maybe Nunes was on her way out the door, and she clearly was, as she retired right after. But good enough to be dominant. Some of those elbow strikes. I mean, good on the toughness because. Nunes was punishing.
Is she the hot one?
No, that's
no.
I don't.
Let's just say no
here.
No, but yeah, she looked good, and it was I got the prediction right. And I thought she was going to retire, but not that she was ripe for an upset. And Aldana, it was like she just froze in the moment. I mean, she was doing nothing when they were standing. Just poor performance from her. And
how about in the stand-up clinch, just getting rocked?
Yeah. Her performance was such garbage. I mean, granted, she's going against the GOAT, but she won't be getting another title shot anytime soon or ever.
Those were actually small odds for Nunes. I mean, she was only 3-1, right? She closed like minus 320 something. Like that's not. We've seen. B, you and I have talked. We've seen some 1100s, some 1400s.
Oh yeah,
some minus 1800s. Like you think, oh, she's only 3-1. What's wrong?
Yeah, well, I think the odds makers were thinking along the same lines that she had 1 foot out the door, but she's the GOAT and she still had plenty of left. The guy that I was really impressed, I like this Malat guy, and we didn't talk about him on the show last week because I hadn't really studied him yet until he was kind of cranking up the crowd at the press conference that I watched Thursday night. And then I mean, all of his finishes had been in round one. So I took him inside the distance. I took under 1.5 rounds. And I took him in round one. I lost that, but I also took a little bit in round two at plus 450. So Malat winning ended up being, I think he's a prospect at 170.
Be looking ahead to the early college football slate. Week 1, game 1 that you tossed out our way is actually a team that made me some money last year against Notre Dame, and Navy at plus 21. And when I say they made me money, I think Navy was winning, or no, they were getting crushed in that game.
Yeah.
And it hit a backdoor cover.
It took all 60 minutes for that one.
Right. Why do you like them to run it back in this case?
All right, a lot of reasons. And first off, I needed to be at 21 on this play. DraftKings is the only 21 left, but there's some 20.5. So I would buy the hook to the half point or the key number of 21. So Navy, as a double-digit underdog last year, went 6-0 against the spread with 2 outright wins. Those 6 games, they covered to the closing number by 76 combined points. They've got 9 starters back on defense, 8 on offense. They lost 5 one-possession games last year. They lost 3 by 3 points apiece. Their defense was good, held 8 of 12 opponents to 21 or fewer. Going back even further, as a double-digit dog, they're 11-2 against the spread, 4 outright wins, their last 13 such spots. And if the line was 21 in the last 21 head-to-head meetings with Notre Dame, Navy would be 14-6-1 against the spread. And they only lost by more than 21 once last season by 24 to Memphis, who got 2 touchdowns in the last 6 minutes. And Navy has lost by more than 21 only 3 times in their last 31 games.
This one's interesting, and you got some huge stones because you're kind of running blind here unless you just think that the number should be something other than what it is. Colorado catching the 21 against TCU, and TCU starting over on offense. I get it. But
yeah.
Man, that's pretty gutsy, not knowing what we're going to get from Colorado.
Yeah, it's not a huge play by any means, but like you just noted, TCU's kind of rebuilding on offense. They've only got 3 starters back. Now, I like Briles as an OC, but, also a new OC. Phil Steele's preseason mag, he does all conference teams all the way out to a 4th team. And on the offense, all Big 12 offenses, there's only one offensive player for TCU, and he's on the 4th team. It's a wide receiver, Savion Williams. Now, they have 7 starters back on D, but they gave up an average of 29 points per game. They won 5 one-possession games last year. They only won by more than 21 4 times, and that was to Charleston State and Oklahoma and Iowa State, who were way down, and Colorado, but they were only up 7-6 at halftime on Colorado, and that was on a 60-yard punt return. And they were only up 17-6 with 11 minutes left. Colorado had a 20-17 advantage in first downs. I just like Sean Lewis, the old Kent State coach, as the OC. I think it's a great hire. They've got they got 13 SEC guys out of the portal. I like McCaskill, the running back from Houston. I think Deion.
They have a good staff.
Yeah.
On paper, that staff is pretty good.
Yeah, so I would say it's more that I just think TCU is not going to be nearly what they were last year. And I just think TCU wins by 10 to 21, or no, I'm sorry, 10 to 17, not 21, not 21, not 21.
If that were the case, Nebraska fans would be like, "Oh boy, here we go!" Right? Because we got to worry about getting past Minnesota on that Thursday night.
Yeah, that one will be. That's a nice. That's a week 0, correct?
Yeah, yeah. So they'll have the 20? They'll have 10 days off in between.
Oh, not week 0, just the Thursday game.
Yeah, it's the Thursday. Yeah, that's what I meant. They'll have 10 days off before they go to Boulder.
Be quickly here. Fit in your preview with UNC South Carolina because that's DB's second home.
Yeah. Well, I haven't decided on a pick yet. I got to do some more research on South Carolina's O-line and D-lines, which are not even ranked in Phil Steele's national unit rankings, and he goes to 65. And they're also not ranked at linebacker or running back, but they're going to be really good at receiver, quarterback, secondary, and they got the best special teams in the country. UNC is going to be good, though. They got a lot of room to improve defensively. I think it's a good line game. I mean, it's North Carolina 1.5 right now, but I'll have more of an opinion as we get closer.
All right, Brian Edwards, we appreciate you, man. Thanks so much, as always, and have a great Thursday.
Fellas, have a great Thursday and weekend.
Thanks, B.
When we come back, we are talking to Mike Sautter, a day early, high school sports insider at Hurrdat Sports. We'll get his thoughts on more 7-on-7 play, offers to high school kids in the area. And maybe I'll even ask him about...
See who he's mad at this week.
Well, I was thinking about maybe the CWS Mo job. We'll do that next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Oh, yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Mike Sautter.
I would agree, Damon.
Mike Sautter.
Yeah.
Mike Sautter.
Oh, man, you're going to put me on the spot.
Mike Sautter.
Always an entertaining segment when we get to have Mike Sautter in studio because we really get to see. Oh, I'm hearing some delay.
And the echo.
There it goes. There it goes. We really get to see his body gestures whenever he gets worked up about something.
Two personality, yeah. I tell you, first thing I asked him, good morning. What are we mad at today? What are we mad at today?
And what are we mad at today, Sautter? Shane, pot him up.
This is myself.
There
we go. The first day that I've taken my daughter to STEM camp was today, which is, summer camp at an elementary school. I'm not going to name the elementary school. Oh my gosh. The drop-off procedure was brutal.
You thought you got away from it when
you're
school,
going to be unbearable when they're in real school.
They're in real school. My kid's in real school. What are you talking about?
She is 6, right?
She went to kindergarten last year. I dropped her off every day almost.
Yeah, that
was way easier than this. Whatever that was, I was like,
a nightmare.
Get me out.
School pickup and drop off is arguably the worst part of the day for me.
And you had one looked like a nice person. Obviously, never met her, but she's like standing on the corner and like single hand, like real
You
casual.
know what drives me
trying to
crazy
do
about that? Like when people are picking up kids after school, they literally will park in front of people's driveways.
Right, yeah.
Which
Okay.
clearly, according to my driver's test, you cannot do.
Cannot do. You would get dock points.
What are you laughing at, Jay?
That's worth turning the mic on and laughing about.
You need to, like, she was like direct, like, and she was trying to stop people. So there's a left turn and a right turn. And I was in the turn to go just right hand. And it's like, if you just go 1 and 1,
You're
like,
good. Yeah, right.
It'll work a lot quicker. She was trying to stop and then, okay, you go, and then stop and you go. No, just go 1, 1.
The prime parking spot.
Kind of like zipper merge.
Yourself 10 steps.
Zipper merge. What is wrong with zipper merging?
Huh?
It's basically the same
That
thing.
was on my driver's test as well.
You should. More people should do it. We don't do that here.
Which you pass with flying colors.
Yeah. Except for the whole 32 and a 30 thing, which I didn't understand. But he goes, I know this is not like old school with these new vehicles. We don't have the coil spring brakes. So sometimes when you step on the gas, you have to be careful. I had to take a full-fledged driving test.
Mm-hmm.
And I got docked for going in, where H&H and Baxter and all those are where the DMV is on Burt.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So we went down the back road and it's 30. And
why did you have to take a driving test?
Oh, it's a long story.
Too
A
many
story that
accidents?
he doesn't want to relive.
No,
Too
I
much
didn't hit
bad
any.
parking?
No, I didn't hit anything. It was clearly miscommunication.
Oh,
Clearly.
mine is expired this year, so I need to.
Yeah, get on that because you'll be like
Before
your boy.
You may be taking a driver's test.
Do that. Get that out of the way.
I need to get
going.
that done.
This went all the way back to last July.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah,
almost a full year.
That's why you. Yeah.
So anyway,
I don't know. Mike Sautter taking the driving test. That'd be very entertaining radio,
he's
especially
crabby.
for the next.
Hey, and I had to do mine with a trainee.
Oh man.
So the guy came out and he goes, "Hey, got room for one more?" I was
No.
like, "Whoa,
what is this?
I got
Uber?
car seats, dog. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Nah, man, we're good. I got car seats.
Yeah, what is he,
Take
8
it-
and under?
Go inside.
for as much as I'm supposed to be recruiting for Iowa, allegedly the dude had
Shane
on
would
an
fit
Iowa
in my
tag
car
on,
seats, though.
and he literally was. I mean, you talk about nitpicking. He's like, "Hey, make sure you tell him to come see Chris too." And I was like,
It sounds like
"No,
a
I
huge
want
waste
people to
of time.
pass. I don't know, Chris. Like, you're funny. I kind of like you, but the 32 and a 30 is driving me crazy."
You actually had conversations with people on the.
Well, he
in the
was
car?
fun. He was funny. He was funny. Dude.
So he was worth it.
Well, what am I gonna do? Just go? If I see, you
don't
guys
have
don't
an option.
understand. If I'm in
There's
public
no option.
and I'm a bag, it's Dame, blah blah. So you just treat people. You just treat people
Yeah,
with respect
okay.
and let the chips fall where they may.
Hey,
I was 7 on 7.
Yesterday,
where I was going. I was going to say,
Oh,
I know
well,
you were
I
at
went
West Side.
I went to 2. I mean, I was at West Side Southeast, and I caught the end of the like JV.
Yeah, why'd you make it a
portion.
point to say, like, hey, I don't care who wins, there's no refs?
Hey, we really need to go down this again.
Yes.
All right, no, continue. Go ahead.
So,
Are you better?
what am I? What?
Are you better?
I'm fine.
Okay.
I've been fine. I wasn't the one that made a big deal about who won a game without referees or linemen
Oh,
You seem very
or
hurt
pads
right
on.
now. You're gonna be all right.
Hey, when
A
you're
practice,
out there,
not a game. It's actually a practice.
when you're out there,
Less than a scrimmage, probably.
does it seem like there's always somebody new that pops off the page than the usual suspects?
A
when
little
you
bit,
attend
yeah.
those things?
A little bit, yeah. That's why I go. Like I go to try and see who, who's that person. And I'll tell you yesterday, Trevor Spady's going to be.
I've been. Yeah, you ain't got to tell me.
He
And
goes, Trevor Spady's been.
he's
Listen.
going to be a dude. And then
He's the guy that I told you is arguably my favorite person that I always get the hugs from.
And
Oh, yeah.
His little brother Trey is going to
and
be
not
great
to go
too.
not to go full West Side Hour, but and a name we know because he played last year a lot. But Keenan Cotton,
Yeah.
have a year.
He's going to be a stud.
Like, and CJ Jones looks like Hercules in shorts and a t-shirt.
You know,
He
he's
looks amazing.
He's weird. I tell him all the time. I got to school the other day and I said, "Hey, listen, we're not going to be that guy that has good track times that people don't think is a good
Right.
football player.
Need to be.
We're locked and
There
loaded."
needs to be.
And
a
so
little-
all he keeps telling him, he's like, every time he sees me, we have this running joke. Coach B, DB, I'm not a 4-star. I'm not a 4-star. I was like, exactly.
and
Keep
looking
that
at,
same energy.
So looking at it, and it looks like he kind of understands the offense a little bit more. Which if he's playing offense, it's another like piece that they.
yeah, we got
you know.
with Spady and some guys that we can alternate.
Right,
with
they're
him,
all
so we can
kinda-
give him some time.
They're all kind of there. I would love for him to rush the passer. Just get your head down and go. But
we'll figure it
like
out.
when he was a freshman at Burke.
We'll figure it out.
He was.
Well, that elementary defense they played, nudge,
I'm
nudge,
just
wink,
saying.
wink, Coach Queen,
I'm just
Coach
saying.
Lamanji.
So anyway, that was good. And then Lincoln, going to Lincoln, I thought it was all right.
That
Like, I
was
went to
pretty
Lincoln for the
cool.
locker room or whatever. The jamboree. It's now
Mhm.
the Lincoln Football Coaches.
So Lincoln has
Association.
been padding up for I think only the last 2 years.
Couple
in the,
years, handful of
in
three
the summer.
maybe. Yeah.
So they
So
never
they-
used to
they-
put them.
Weird.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people in Lincoln that think that's kind of why they were behind. I don't know enough to
That no
speak
middle
on
school
that.
football.
So they still don't have middle
Well, I
school
know
football?
that they didn't. I don't know about now, but I'm not for sure.
Well, if they don't have middle school football, like how do you
Like
know what's
pads.
coming?
It's
Like
tough.
at the schools themselves, right?
Yeah.
So
But they do have a couple of good organizations that I
Okay.
like.
they do. Yeah.
Like up
So
the
there's
youth
at
level,
least
like the
a-
Vipers.
there's still a
There's a
resource.
couple. There's a couple that I
Yeah,
I
there's
think
a
are pretty
way,
good.
but
Okay.
like. the
So did
actual
you like
school.
the? Did you like?
Yeah,
the
I
camp?
liked. It felt like to me. So Southwest, Southeast, Northeast, and Pius were there. So
Did Jackson Carpenter participate?
he was not. So
He
that
is-
changes a
he
lot.
is flying under
And
the
East
radar.
and
Really good player for Lincoln.
Lincoln
Southwest.
East wasn't there, and that's Dash is really good. We've talked about him before for East. I don't know, like his
I wonder what his level's
going
gonna.
weird.
Because I know what like
He's good.
I know what D1 coaches think.
Yeah,
So he's going to be he's a tweener.
yeah, I know, but like
At least 3.
How about
coaches.
this? Nebraska hasn't even asked him to camp.
I don't know if the ask thing is their thing.
Well,
though.
he's not going to go. He's not just going to volunteer his time. Like everyone else, according to Twitter, gets invited to go to camp. So like, I don't know.
Oh, here we go. You're good at this now, AR. Is there some hidden meaning in that? Because I'm wondering where we're going with this.
Right. It
Kids
seems like that
tweeting out.
stems from something deeper.
No, I'm just saying, kids tweeting out like, "Thanks, Coach Foley, for the invite to camp" type stuff, and like, here's the thing, like it's okay, great,
But in a
Woo!
lot of ways too.
Yippity
I
doo
feel
dah
like-
day.
I feel like a couple of weeks ago we were talking about how the staff wants you to desire to go to the camp versus sending out invites. So are invites few and far between, or are they actually,
Or is it an actual invite?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, is it
You're
actually
stupid.
as bulky?
I can't even mess with you, man.
Just like you don't need to announce that you're. I don't know. Some things just.
I mean, what if it's just like a text chain between you and Foley, and like he's like, "Yeah, you should come up," and then they're like, "I got invited."
Yeah, and here's the graphic of
You
the
know?
camp dates, and
Are you
kids don't know how to tag photos, and it's all the @. It's weird.
Are you surprised that JR committed so early?
Lacuna, yeah.
Fernando.
A little bit. And I said this before about Miller South. Like their defensive line is gonna be really good,
Oh, believe me.
real good. Like
You want me to pull
Aiden
them
Miller's
up?
good.
You want me to pull
like,
them up on Huddle
And
again?
then they got Aiden Miller.
Nightmare.
Yeah, like
I'm well aware.
they're gonna be.
I'm well aware.
Yeah,
Here's the other thing though. So it's such a good program.
it's
though.
a nice fit. Like it's a good.
I mean,
think
they're
it's a
the
good
national
level.
champs.
Yeah, it's obviously a nice level. And hey, if he goes there,
I
and does
just
well,
think
then he
he's
can
really.
move on.
I just think he's really good.
No, he is.
So I'm always paying attention to what he's doing.
He's been like, he started young or played young for them, and he's been pretty good.
Are the Jacks the new NDSU? Not yet.
They
Hell
were
no.
yeah. Hey, listen, they're built for the long haul, though.
No, yeah, and keeping it in house.
That O line, D line is filthy.
Yeah.
See what they did against the run last year?
Yeah, they're really good.
I mean, see what they did against Iowa.
But
last
it's
year.
so hard for me to say yes because NDSU was
They've
so
been so great,
dominant,
right?
And I don't think they're going
They're
anywhere.
too early to say yes.
But they slowly been kind of running them down from behind.
Yeah, they've been trying and trying.
also don't
They
have
got
their head
that
coach.
Jackson guy out of there, and now like they're winning more. They're actually caught him.
So what else did you see this week in Lincoln?
So so let's just Southeast. I thought they were the best. No, okay, not everyone was there, so it's hard to say that. And Southeast didn't have their quarterback and won't the whole summer. So I thought that Cash Butenbach, man, he's gonna run for a lot of yards.
I imagine a lineup and run it.
A lot. Like he's gonna He's got really good balance.
I like him. I
shifty.
like him a ton.
Obviously, like they're tough kids, right? Max was really tough. I think he's probably a tick better. I don't know if his mom or whatever wants to hear that, but I think he's probably.
It ain't Verge you got to worry about. It's mom.
Oh, I know. I talked to her yesterday.
Get your tail whooped.
I know.
I was a little taken aback that he and Caleb got into it. I was like,
oh, they did?
Yeah,
Weird.
it was minor.
Oh,
it was minor.
Hey,
Yes.
I think he's going to be really good for them and score a lot of touchdowns for them and have a really good year.
Will they be able to throw the ball?
I don't think so.
Because I think that's going to be the thing when people game plan.
I think another name that kind of popped for me, and it's a familiar last name, is Bruntz was there and Schaefer were there, and Bruntz and I were in the corner.
Doesn't surprise
and
me. Who are the two guys that I championed?
Yeah, and I said, hey, that's got to be a little Applegate because he looks just like him.
I just asked Sim about him yesterday.
And he
seems like he's got some dog in him.
Yeah.
He's a thick kid,
right?
Too.
And he's built just like his brothers. I mean, he looks just like him.
I like the family, so I'm a little biased.
Then I go ask Gatula, I'm like, hey, is that an Applegate number 8 over there or whatever? He goes, yup, that's Nick. I go, I knew it, because he just looks like it. He's going to be a guy that's going to play. He made a long stretch play, caught a long pass, made a nice play on the ball to get it for a touchdown on Tuesday. I think that's a kid that is going to be good. And then they got Donald DeFrand over there from Lincoln High, transferred over. That'll be interesting.
That surprised me a little.
I think he, he's long. He's a little slight, but he's long track kid, right? So he should be able to cover pretty well. We'll see. Still figuring
not really a correlation, but I get the analogy.
Still figuring it out a little bit. It looked like so. Like them. I thought they were the best there, but no Jackson Carpenter out in Southwest, which matters. Southwest new coach might look a little different. So
I have a little bit of a man crush on Jackson.
Yeah, he's really good too.
He's a nice kid too.
He's good. He wasn't there because of, I think, baseball, and obviously East wasn't there. So we'll see about what that looks like. No North Star, who Dean Donaldson is now the quarterback of.
Yeah, that caught me off guard a couple weeks ago. Transferred from Bellevue West to Creighton Prep, then Creighton Prep to
start of the year as the starter.
North
Prep
Star.
Didn't end it that way.
It seems like a lot of moving around.
I don't know. Everybody's got a different story. I don't know them, so I don't judge. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't know the situation.
Yeah,
you almost never see Omaha to Lincoln.
No.
So maybe it's a job. Was it a job situation? I have seen Lincoln to Omaha.
I'm not sure. Yeah. I don't know the details of that, but that's just there's my Lincoln hour.
Well, you got Summer League. He's got questions.
Summer League
basketball.
Oh yeah, I went to Summer League on Monday night. I went Monday night. Went Monday night to Prep. It was actually pretty good. Prep, Gretna, Miller North, pretty good.
Yeah, Miller North's kind of an enigma.
Let me tell you something about Miller North, and he doesn't. I know, like you and I have seen him play forever, and 100 games in his life. But Neil Mosser was had the ball in his hands and playing a little point. He's a really good passer.
He's a great passer. He's just never handled the ball.
Right.
He is an unbelievable.
He sees the floor pretty well.
So I think the difference between him and some guys that can shoot it, like in our rotation for ETG, why he gets the nod is his passing.
Yeah, he can really pass. He's it feels like super high IQ guy. Just watching, that was one of the takeaways. I was like, oh man, and Alex Wilcoxon was burying corner threes left and right for Gretna.
Super,
because he can't
man crusher.
So it's just more than capable.
So he could not have to hold that quarterback job all season for them, right? Because they've got some young guys in the pipeline that can play.
Gretna's gonna be just fine.
Oh
yeah,
again, you don't have to tell. We keep the rosters.
You
So we look at film, we look at the rosters. Our staff is sick. We have some sicknesses.
And he is athletic, and I mean he's not going to be Zane Flores. He's just not. And
he's a corner,
and it's fine,
or
right?
a DB.
Yeah, and it's fine. I think people understand. I hope no one's putting pressure on him to be that guy because he's just not that guy. But he's a nice, really good athlete, and I honestly I think he's.
You know what I like about him? He's a winner,
and he's tough. is really tough.
He's a winner.
And super mature too.
So he's giving me the 411 on Bynum and his offer.
Tennessee
offers.
Okay, quick question.
Tennessee was right.
I wondered why you were sitting on this.
So go ahead.
When it comes to offers, especially in basketball, do you see more? And this may be a dumb question because maybe the percentage swing is bigger than I'm giving it credit for. But do you see more offers coming in summer league, or do you see them coming more during the high school season?
Oh no, summer, easy,
right?
By
hands
far.
down.
So is the swing like 80-20, or is it even greater?
For what? From football
Offers.
For offers, like if you're thinking like offers.
Oh, it's way
this
more
season.
in the summer and spring.
So you would say you would take the over 80% even?
Yeah, it's yeah.
Okay.
For Division I stuff, yeah, it's not even close.
I can't.
And Amari Bynum tweeted. So he tweeted his Tennessee offer at like midnight. So today is the first day that 2025s can be directly contacted, meaning, well, officially according to the rules, directly contacted by Division I schools. So that's why that happened, like probably right at midnight or something for him. Obviously Iowa State offered yesterday. Amari for my money, he's the best prospect in 2025. I've said it to a lot of people and probably for over a year now. I think when I say prospect, I don't mean right now today. I mean in 5 years from now or 4 or 3. But he is super skilled. He put a move. I saw a video like on Monday night. He put a move on it.
I know
dude.
Jacob and I talked about that, and we're like, "That's great. How often will he use it?" I get it. I get the hype.
But that was like,
are you doing that in a game?
He did it in a game.
No, it's summer, Mike Sautter. It's summer.
Is it like passing league?
As if you don't know better.
It's a little bit like passing.
But you downplay passing league, but you
let me say
you lose your mind over summer league.
Though. That was stupid. You saw the video? You know the video?
Stop, man. I've seen him his whole life. I love the kid.
He is going to be. He's really good. He is.
But to hang, my
really
point is hyperbole. To hang on
he's the
that
best
one
prospect
move.
in Nebraska.
No, I don't.
In Nebraska right now, he's the best prospect.
I don't disagree with that one bit. He's a sensational talent.
Yeah, he is way talented. He's 6'8", all that stuff. Like,
and he's putting it on the floor now.
Right.
Too.
Yeah, like he's super level. Like he's got this really cool, good demeanor.
He's the anti-Omar.
Yeah, he's the opposite of his dad. Yeah,
I'm listening, and you're talking about he's a Northwest guy. Like I'm team Omar.
No, yeah, I know Omar.
People think he's wired a little differently, but I like
he's
him.
Intense.
You know what? And here's the thing. You know why I like him? He's not afraid to do the things that sometimes I second guess myself for not doing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like
you're talking about dad or son here?
I'm talking about as a dad.
So I'm
talking about as a dad.
I will.
There's sometimes I look at it and I'm like, yeah, I'd like to be able to do that. I wish I was a little more secure. You know what I mean? I'm just being honest. Like I have some flaws.
It's always good to be a long time learner.
I just watch him, and he gets into him, and I'm like,
hey, it's 9:20. You got to go.
Yeah,
he's got the clock. You got 3 minutes and 33 seconds on the clock.
All right, I'm being a little late.
Plus, it's thinking those guys like ACC is cool.
It's all right. They're fine. So anyway,
they are the best.
Let me give you like a little bit basketball names that will be contacted today, and I will put out obviously this list I've worked on for a while. This whole week, I'm like, hey, who are you calling today? Who are you calling on the Thursday, whatever? And it's Amari Bynum's clearly one. Braden Frager clearly won. He's at Iowa State today and probably going to get an offer from Iowa State today. Bryson Ball from Papio South is another one. Amir Martin.
Can I ask you a question?
Brian.
What's the difference between Bryson Ball and Jaden Jackson?
Bryson Ball is taller, 6'4".
Jaden Jackson handles the ball better. He's a better defender.
It's the height thing.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, that's all.
Because I like both. Listen, no disrespect to Bryson. They're both great shooters.
If
Jaden does it at a higher level against elite competition.
Also, disadvantages because of his height.
What is it, an inch and a half?
They list him at 6'1". He ain't 6'1".
Jaden?
If he was 6'1", a legit 6'1", it'd be over. He'd have a ton of offers.
You see Jaden guard now?
He's amazing. Like, he's the best player in the senior class, and I think that's not even close. Like,
he's called him the best shooter that he saw all year.
He shot.
He's again.
Last year, it seemed like he couldn't miss a three.
But he's
ridiculously
unbelievable.
So Anyway, this is just a.
How do you do 50% from 3? How do you do that?
Hey,
sick.
Can I finish my
Sorry.
list real quick? So this is just names. Sorry, it's your show, but I gotta go.
I just want to know the difference between Ball and Jackson according to pundits.
So this is just, hey, we would like to keep in contact. It's not like we're going to
About his
offer you.
mannerisms.
So
You're
it's not
weird.
that. So Amir Martin, obviously from Bryan, is another one. Taven Zephyr Murphy is another one that from Westview. Derek Rollins from Millard North is going to have some contact today. Robbie Garcia from Bellevue West. Brock Scholl from
I like Brock.
Scott. Trinell Parker from Prep, who's going to have a big year for them. Dylan Clausen's going to have a big year for Prep too.
I keep hearing that.
And the name that was discovered at the Bryan shootout, Marcus Gray from Boys Town.
Yeah, he did not play against Westside yesterday. They only had like 6 guys.
I'm going to tell you, I'm telling you, like, he's not like, when I say that name, it's not, and even like I tweeted about people like, oh my gosh, this kid's like, whatever. I go, no, he's not there yet at all. Like, he doesn't know how to set a screen properly right now, but he has the tools in there and you can see some stuff. And like, so he's definitely a guy. Speaking of going back to Jaden Jackson, he was at South Dakota State yesterday, just on a visit up there. So
seems like a great feeder school for getting to the Power 5 team you want to go to.
He's twitchy too. I know he walks like an old man.
Dude, he's so good.
He's
the best player in the senior class, and I think that's not close.
We'll see.
Sautter, we appreciate you, man. Even though you can be mean.
Jerome?
All right, bye.
He's always
I'm going to go mow my yard again today.
You're a weirdo.
Hey, man, what do you think about the CWS mow real fast? Did you like it, dislike
It's fine. I don't care.
Who do you think you are, Jesse Cuevas or somebody?
I
This guy
am.
used to take care of
I am, actually. I would love that job.
Team Cuevas over here.
Yeah. Edge every time. baby.
My unpopular opinion on Twitter last night was I wasn't a big fan.
Well, no one likes you. Bye.
Sauter's tough. Go home, man.
I hope you have trouble at physical therapy today.
Goodness.
I hope so. I hope you have setbacks. Sports Six back up next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio. Time now for the Sports Six-Pack on Coffee and Cream with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning. Presented by Zipline Brewing Company, makers of Dear Old Nebraska Brew, the official beer of Nebraska alumni.
All right, let's get right to it. Zipline Brewing, the sponsor of the Sports Six-Pack, and you should spend your time at their downtown Omaha location, especially tomorrow, the start of the College World Series, and then just stay there throughout the whole week. Maybe sleep there. I'm sure Zipline will be cool with that if you're buying a bunch of beer, right? Maybe not. You may have to sleep outside, but you know what? Be there when it opens. Close it down after games. Head over to their tap room. It's a really cool venue. Actually, funny story, quickly. When I first came to Omaha, when I was working in Sioux City, the first bar I went to at the CWS, Zipline, and I met the bartender who was from Tennessee, and we had a great conversation. Not sure if he still works there, but if he does, I'll see him tomorrow. Check out Zipline's downtown Omaha tap room. Shane, let's go.
Question number 1.
TJ in Omaha, we found out coach rules 3 rules for assistants yesterday. Do what's asked of you, put the players first, and protect the staff. Out of those 3, what do you guys think is the number 1 rule?
I think it's easy.
Put the players first?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's easy. Put in the players first. I think a close second, though, is just doing what's asked of you. Because I think that's one of the hardest rules to follow, especially if you're not interested in doing what is asked of you, but you still have to say yes to it because you know the dynamic. So if we're going something from the stance of being harder than 1, I would say that. But the one to follow, put the players first.
I mean, lockstep. No questions asked. Plus, you know my personality.
Question number 2.
This is from Logan. In my opinion, Adam Hadwin was accurately profiled and subdued because he was wearing jeans on the course. Fair to say if he's in golf pants, it doesn't happen?
That in the hood.
That's actually like a very astute, like,
no, I'm
thing
serious
to notice. Like,
I'm
good
serious.
observation.
That's what happens when you don't have a collared shirt on. That's the first thing I thought of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know what? If you looked more like a golfer, I would say yes. You look like a fan. Especially to a security guard that doesn't. You're not one of the best players in the world. If that was Tiger Woods, you could at least recognize him.
1,000% agreement with my man. If you look like a golfer, it wouldn't have happened.
That's funny.
Good point.
Question number 3.
Would you rather party for a week with the winning fan base of the Jello Shot Challenge at the CWS or party one night with the Jokic brothers?
Give me one night with Jokic's brothers.
Me too. I can't.
I would just be fascinated.
I'm not a back-to-back guy. I'm barely a back guy, so I'm taking the Jokic brothers. And they don't speak great English, so I probably wouldn't have to talk that much. It would be more about what was going on. I'm cool.
That fits your personality.
Give me the Jokic
I
brothers.
kind of just want to see how nuts they are when you put alcohol in their system in a bar setting.
So here's the thing, though. You don't want – everybody has that friend that when they drink too much, they're dangerous. I don't want them to be dangerous.
Although they would completely destroy anybody that comes in their
I
path.
don't know how tough they are. I know they can shoot guns.
Well,
I don't know if like fist
they
fighting.
seem mean.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get
Yeah.
it. A lot of people like that can't actually fight.
If one of them were running at me, I'd run away faster than you could say.
And that's what they're banking on.
Hold up.
Sometimes you got to put it to the test.
Question number 4.
Jordan and Lincoln, watching what happened to Texas made me so happy, so happy. I love watching that team get so close and fail, no matter the year.
Tell me how you really feel, Jordan.
So happy. Who's that team for you? The team you just love seeing to lose?
This one's pretty easy for me. The Chicago Cubs. And I hope Vers is listening. I hope Sautter's listening on his way to PT.
I got one in every sport.
Ooh, interesting.
Flyers in hockey, the Giants in baseball.
So just the
Celtics in basketball.
Yeah, the rivals.
And the absolute Baltimore Ravens in football.
So
easy.
Blackhawks would be my hockey team. The Packers would be my football team. And I don't really have a competitive NBA example.
You know, there's nobody that I really hate in college football outside of Texas. But I don't know if I revel in seeing them lose. I don't even hate Colorado.
You know what my teams are? Colorado, Texas, Oklahoma, and Iowa.
Go ahead then, Shane. Says the guy that's from Iowa.
Question number 5.
He just likes the 46 other states.
Heck with Norwalk.
No, I love Norwalk. Speaking of Jello shots, which fan base will put away more Jello shots at the CWS? Stanford, who had a whopping 231 last year, or Oral Roberts, the school where drinking is frowned upon?
That's a great question.
Give me Oral Roberts. Stanford really disappointed me last year. Really disappointed me. And plus, you'll probably have people that just go up to the counter and say, I'm drinking for Oral Roberts. They may not be like a student who signed the waiver that said I won't drink or do any other thing that is frowned upon at this university. But I think you'll have a lot of people that are like, let's run up their Jello shot count just because they can.
I'll take. I almost said what I called them off air. Can you imagine? You're like, yeah. Can you come to the office and bring your paperwork?
Remember, you can say anything once.
I'll take the Bob. I'll take Oral Roberts in that one too. That was close.
When you're comfortable, when DB gets comfortable,
Shane was like, "What does that word mean?"
All right, question 6. Let's make our
Google
picks.
it.
Who's your champion? Who's your sleeper for the U.S. Open?
Why didn't you play the drop?
What drop?
We're rolling on time here.
What do you
I want
mean?
to make
We
sure.
have 5 minutes.
I want to make sure we can get your
You
picks
acted
in.
like there's a minute left.
You think you can get the picks in a minute?
Well, you're wasting time now.
Yeah, Shane.
Question number 6.
All right, go.
Thanks, Shane. All right, who goes first?
I don't care.
I won last, so should I go? Should I get to pick my spot?
Yeah.
Okay, I go first.
I want to go third.
Ooh, okay,
I want the
Shane, you're
back-to-backs.
second.
What?
You're
So
picking
the picks,
second.
The picks are part of the 6-pack? Well, that's not fair.
He said, "What? What?
You're picking second.
Spit it out over
We
there,
all know you're
Chauncey."
picking John Rahm anyway.
Guys.
Where's Sautter at when I need him?
All right, remember?
Hey, you want the angry dude?
Yes, I want the angry dude.
There's very few people that when they leave, I get more text messages or DMs about them. Like, so
That's great. I love it.
high school it's
All right,
dicey, man.
You guys are gonna laugh at this first overall pick.
No, I'm not. It's you. I will not laugh.
You don't think so?
No, we're friends.
You going Justin Thomas, 25-1 long shot?
No, that dude is definitely not winning.
No, first overall pick, Jordan Spieth. It's about time he wins a major again.
Huh. Okay. That definitely surprises me. Was that like gun to head? You felt like panicked?
Nope. I didn't want anybody to take him in the next 4 picks.
Well, you don't have to worry about that. Liquidity?
Okay, I'll go Scotty then as a favorite.
Oh, you like the guy that's going to use the pretend new putter.
I can't do it, man. I can't. For some guy that's changing up his game, I just don't know how he can be the favorite. I can't do it.
I'm going back to back. One, because I didn't take him a long time ago, and I'm mad at
Jason
myself.
Day?
And he
Justin
had one of the greatest press conferences ever when asked about Liv. I'm taking Colin Morikawa.
Ooh, okay.
He's gonna hit it straight. He's not gonna be in a ton of trouble. I just hope the blade gets hot. So give me Colin. And you know what? At 17-2, it's a major. I'm gonna kick myself for not taking Brooks Koepka. Give me Brooks Koepka.
He was my winner last time around.
How about that?
Catch me outside. All right, Shane.
Oh, I'll go with the easy pick. I'll go with John again.
There he goes.
Hey, not bad, Shane.
Shane's got a couple of good picks there.
With Scheffler and Rahm.
Last one I will take here
Those
is
guys have messed around and finished 2-3.
Xander Schauffele.
Oh, I like it. You have a lot more. Anybody that spells his name and starts with an X, why isn't it just Z?
So Xander was one of John's favorites who we had on the show yesterday, if you
Red
missed
House.
that. And he is a favorite to finish in the top 10. So since we do aggregate score, I think that's a safe play.
I thought about that.
I think that's a very safe play. Now we go above 3,500, correct?
Yeah, mine's easy.
Can it be 3,500?
So
or
are
does
you
it have
back
be
to back
above?
because we're going back? Yeah, take the 3,500.
Okay.
You're not going to win.
Thanks. Unless I take Wyndham Clark from you.
I'm not going to take him even though you watch. This will be the week that
man.
You watch.
Can you imagine? Give me Cameron Young. Really good with his putter.
You haven't offended. Listen, what is it with you and Cam?
Give me Cameron Young. Wait. Cameron Young? Should I go Cameron Smith this week? Ooh.
Didn't you take Young?
I did. I like Cam Young a lot. You know what? I'll change. You know what? You convinced me. I'll take Cam Smith. I think he's 3,500.
Go ahead then,
Give
Shane.
me Cam Smith.
And what's the number?
3,500 or more.
Okay, and I probably don't have the right
I'll
list here.
I'll look at the list and tell you if they're 3,500 or more.
I'll just go with Bryson.
Okay, yeah, he's 4,000.
Okay.
DeChambeau?
Yeah.
I'm staying close, and I got this a little bit from John, but the West Coast guys that will play well over there. Give me Tagala.
Ooh, okay.
Orange County guy. He's from right there. He's good. He was good at Riviera. He was good at Torrey Pines.
Who's the kid from Oregon that
he's
John
55-1? So that he's talking about Wyndham Clark.
Wyndham Clark that
Played at Oregon, but he's actually from Denver.
Got it. Okay, so you have Sam Theegala.
Yes.
So I'll
Theegala.
Here we go.
At 55-1. So give me some of those juicy odds, baby.
Spieth, Schauffele, and Cam Smith for me. Scheffler, Rahm, DeChambeau for Shane, and Koepka, Morikawa, and Theegala for DB. We'll be back with Michael Bruntz.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Before we get to Michael Bruntz, as we await.
Where's Bruntsy, Shane?
Call.
We need Bruntsy. Where's Bruntsy?
I'll take a moment to tell you about Dingman's Collision Center. Dingman's is the place to take your car whenever you are in need of a service, and I'm in need of an oil change, so I will be heading there.
What are
Did
the
that
odds?
Go down the crack?
Yes, it did.
Oh, man.
What are the odds?
That stings, because there's no way you're getting that back.
No, not even on track. By the way, is Darcy coming to see us, or what's the plan?
Not today, maybe tomorrow. We're going to
Okay.
have a visit from Darcy. We
Shane,
have
make sure you dress nice.
Some things that they want to add and promote, and I'm excited to say that
she's creative.
There's just a good new connection there. So you'll hear our wow, nice work.
Look at my eraser.
I know it looks like a eraser that you would give like a fourth grader.
Wow, it's my aptitude.
But we will take a moment and talk to Darcy about Epic for Girls, and they will add that in. So we're excited to do that with her, and we appreciate their partnership on the show. Let's go to the phone and talk to Michael Bruntz now. Bruntsy, it probably has a lot going on because the Oakland A's are
that's all Bruntsy has going on is they've won 7 out of 10.
The new stadium funding, which is taking another step in the OK process. It's a weird time to be an Oakland A's fan. So it's good that we get to actually talk Oakland A's baseball finally with Michael Bruntz. Good morning.
How's it going?
Hey, what's it like to be an A's fan right now with the fact that there's so much more noise off the field than on?
Bruntsy's like, go Hogan Harris. Go Hogan Harris.
It sucks. I mean, think about it. Like I have never had a team that I root for leave, and it's hard because you're like, you want to root for the team, but you just absolutely despise management and ownership. Like, how do you? I mean, they had like 27,000 people at that game last night chanting "sell the team," but they're going to Vegas. It sounds like it might be official today. So there's that.
Bruntzy is the best player on your team, Rooker.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Noda's not bad. Well, Esther Ruiz is probably the best.
I think he's leading you guys in hits. I think
he's one of the few guys worth watching, probably.
And everybody's like, who? Yeah, we just named 3 A's.
They got the comically large bases now, so it kind of plays into his strengths. So
the good news is,
did you see the replay last night, you guys, with Nemo on second base?
No.
When he was safe. I know, unless you're a Yankees Mets fan, you probably weren't watching it, but they watched this thing like 6 times on the replay, and I was like, how are you guys missing this? The base is gigantic. Like
No,
it's so huge.
It is way too big.
The satellite they used probably wasn't passing over at the right time whenever they needed that replay done. It's like with baseball reviews, like I like
only Bruntz.
Dude, he's got a problem.
40% of the time, like, do they even like seem like they're even checking the play?
No. I'm telling you, for the sports of the major sports that kind of they didn't really implement it first, but like the on the field and take your time. Like I think baseball was a little ahead of football because football couldn't get it out from under the hood without it taking 12 minutes. Baseball still can't get it right. And I actually think they have the cleanest looks at stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's true. And it's not as, I mean, there's some bang plays, and you got to figure out like, is the glove in the or the ball in the pocket, that kind of stuff. But like college baseball is even worse. I mean, it's like,
yeah,
like some of these Big Ten games, these umpires are looking at like an iPhone down there, and like they don't have an angle. They don't have nothing to look at.
They don't have an angle.
Oh god! Again, I see. 2 weeks ago, I didn't think you could top it. Then last week, you were equally as good. Then we're back at it. Maybe you're just good at this whole interview thing. Bruntz, so let me ask you something.
Order you that mayo, by the way.
Hey, I'm ordering that. Nah, he sent me the Amazon. He's like, hey, I need your address. We got mayo coming.
4 pounds.
Bruntz, I told you about my buddy that said he would do tartar sauce.
Ugh.
Can you imagine?
Oh.
And you better get that package off your porch quick.
My brother said he'd do ranch.
No, not a chance. They do that in San Antonio, though. Hey, Bruntz, did it fly under the radar with Sirianni and the guy, pitching coach,
Childress?
That Ledbetter is no longer with the program?
I thought you meant Nick Sirianni for a second, not Mike.
Yeah, it was quiet.
Yeah, Curtis is like that's another old, Nebraska guy. Like I felt like that flew under the radar.
Yeah, it's tough, right? Like with the third assistant coach thing, you either get the third assistant or you get a volunteer assistant. You don't get both. So a lot of these schools, just based on kind of how they've had to operate with 2 full-time assistants and the head coach, are having to really kind of reshuffle roles and who handles what. And I think that's part of it with him, was just that they with moving Rob to that third assistant position, you lose the volunteer and you're having to really kind of put, roles together, have guys kind of double up on things that maybe 2 people were doing before. And that's the thing that's been kind of different about the third assistant. Is great because, you have more guys out recruiting, but just your day-to-day stuff changes a lot now because you don't have that volunteer assistant that, frankly was doing a lot of that stuff before for quite cheap.
Bruntz, I got on this earlier with DB because I was fascinated about the 10-80-10 principle that Coach Rule. I mean, maybe it just adds to the love fest of Coach Rule. Who knows? But he doesn't focus on the bottom 10% like most people would guess and work them into the 80. No, he focuses on the top 10% and then acts, or that leads to the rest of the 80% to act more like them. But it had me thinking about what a recruiting ploy this could end up being. Like, how much do you think this method of thinking can lead to recruiting a gem? Because if I'm a top recruit and I see a coach spending most of his time developing NFL talent or that top 10%, I would want to play for him.
Unless you're not in the 10%.
Yeah.
I'm probably more of a bell curve guy, Bruntz. What about you?
Yeah. And if you're that top 10%, you got a lot of options, more than likely. But yeah, I mean, it's the developmental piece. I mean, that's a big part of the pitch. I mean, it's in 2023 when a lot of the facilities are pretty similar. You've got some NIL at a lot of the top schools that are probably in the same ballpark. And, you know, the conversation a lot of times for these, especially elite guys, is you want to go to the next level. And, you know, Matt Rule and his staff have a pretty strong proof of concept. And I know things didn't really go well in Carolina for him, but I mean, I think the fact that for, you know, a few years he was in those conversations, you know, about drafting and what they look for and that kind of stuff. I mean, that gives a little bit more, you know, kind of credence to the way they do things. So, I mean, it's a big part of the conversation I think that they're having is, you know, if you want to go to the NFL, you know, we can get you there. And oh, by the way, we were there, you know, pretty recently. And so, yeah, I mean, that's a huge piece of it. I mean, you know, some kids aren't going to want to do that. I mean, that's going to be, you know, just the way things are. But for a lot of kids that have dreams and aspirations of playing in the NFL, I mean, I think Matt Rule and the staff have a pretty darn good case to make going up against some of these other college programs that they're recruiting against.
Bruntz, what did you learn anything new watching 7-on-7? You know, I love how you guys actually get out and watch and kind of do your own homework, man. Are you continuing to take notes, be amazed, not get the hype? Like, kind of where are you at with 7-on-7?
With stuff here, high school stuff here?
Yeah.
I haven't. Schaefer's been up in Omaha a lot more than I have. I was out in Lincoln this past week, and I don't know. I mean, it's still kind of early. You're kind of trying to see, you know, who's got what, you know, who could be a player and that kind of thing. You're kind of looking for
who's got their guys that aren't camping elsewhere at the particular moment.
Yeah, or doing load management or whatever.
Can I just say so? I told one of the Lincoln guys that was up here yesterday, I said, you know, one of the things that we don't do that I like at our school is that there's no real such thing as load management. Like it because I think it's just one of those deals where like you're afraid to miss.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, I think too, I understand the importance of it.
Load management.
Like I get it, but like the JV stuff, like it was a lot of JV stuff I saw this week too, and I don't know. It's a little too early in the summer for that for me, I think.
You're moving back. By the way, Bruntz, you're moving back to 9 anyway. So I don't know if small doses of Bruntz are ever enough for me for the week. We'll have to continue our text exchange.
Yeah, it's just going to be 4-pound jugs from now on.
Can't wait to get that warm mayo, buddy.
Yep. We'll see you guys.
All right,
see you,
buddy.
Bruntsy. That's Michael Bruntz, senior writer at Husker
Tartar sauce,
24/7.
though?
Not good, man. Not good. There's no condiment I'm eating during a game. Like, let's just lay that out there.
It's a wrap.
There's no condiment. We'll be back actually on remote tomorrow, so stay tuned.